And we're back.
Hello and welcome to the Counter-Strike Major halftime show brought to you by colorful digital items that tickle our fancy. Performing tonight will be Denzel Curry with a motherfucking music kit.
That's pretty good.
The
I
Super
like
Bowl
that.
was on.
I also just want to say welcome to welcome to a very good Counter-Strike podcast. I don't want to say the best Counter-Strike podcast because there's a lot of best CSGO podcasts out there, so I think we're good.
We're good?
I think we're just in the top three, you'd say.
Yeah, I wouldn't rank. I would just say,
It's just
not the
very
best.
Well, sometimes
Okay.
we're not talking about Counter-Strike. We're just over here just sometimes talking about the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
It was on. It represents America in a way. It's a night where the whole nation watch a bunch of men with some pads running around a field, running into each other
Slippery ass field, by the way.
with athletic
the,
feats that no one's seen before.
The grass conditions, the server conditions were a bit rough in the game last night, which is weird. I was reading articles that field was like 2 years in the making specifically for this. The guy, the groundsman who controls like the field and the grass conditions is like some like 92-year-old dude who's done the field for every single Super Bowl in history.
Yeah,
And he's
I saw
finally
that.
slipped
That's
up.
crazy.
They finally
Yeah,
slipped up,
They
Jason.
might have to get younger now, get some of that new tech.
They
in.
had the most experienced guy, and I don't know anything about the foosball. This is the first I'm hearing. I'm glad I'm learning about I just was watching the halftime show and the movie trailers that happened throughout the match as well. So there was some compilations of all that going on. But in terms of the actual game, I got no idea. I don't know who was playing. I don't know who's winning. I don't know.
Well, spoilers, Chiefs won. Patrick Mahomes, of course.
They got a little bit of a gift there at the end, didn't they, Yanko? I'm sure you checked out some highlights on the travel day.
No.
They got a little.
I didn't check
okay.
shit. I was
Okay, well then
hungover. My shower was supposed to be at 4:15, like 3 hours before my flight, and it's a 40-minute drive from the hotel to the airport. So
You went from Krakow?
yeah, so I just went on my own later, but I didn't sleep. We were like celebrating downstairs at the hotel bar until like 4:30 was when I realized shit. I need to go like pack and shower.
Jason, you know how that bar's traditionally pumping. It was like
especially with a Nico victory with a G2 win. I've seen Nico celebrate some trophies in the past.
it was a completely different vibe in that place. There was hollering, there was hooting, there was speakers.
Was it the same place, the same hotel?
Yeah, everyone's favorite yellow and red hotel. Everyone loves it. Everyone knows it.
Gets spicy after the finals in that lobby.
Yeah, and Philip was there again. We all know Philip, the bartender. We've known him for years.
Good man. Yeah.
He's still cracking away.
Still kicking.
He's got to love seeing us. I mean, still
Or
after
hate
all
seeing
these
us,
years,
mate. Or
still
hate
after
seeing
all
us.
these years, he hasn't figured out to bring in like an extra hand or two.
Well,
That's what
he did.
They had a
I
couple of plainclothes
He had it figured out
bartenders
for
on the
this
go,
one,
mate.
like,
Okay.
he came to us on day, I don't know, 4 or 5, or to Trace actually, because they're best mates. No joke. And was like,
Well, you guys
yeah,
did live there for an extended period of time.
True. Yeah, tonight, we don't have that many people, and that was like, play-ins were starting to finish. But from tomorrow, I'm gonna be here every night, to fix you guys drinks. We're gonna have a couple of extra people, so after tonight, we're gonna keep the bar open longer because on paper it's supposed to close at whatever midnight, but the guy would stay there until 2-3 a.m. or whatever.
Makes too much money to close it on these
Absolutely.
days.
I feel like he makes for this tournament as much as he makes for the rest of the year.
Probably.
There were so many people there every night.
It's pretty wild. But everyone was in good spirits. Everyone was out and about. It was good to see everybody. There's a good start to the year. There's a good vibe. I think it's good. 2023.
Jason, we know you don't listen to the podcast when you're not doing it, but did you watch the show a little bit? How did it feel to you from the outside?
The Katowice show? Yeah, it was fine. It was good. Outside of there were, obviously a few small audio things popped up here and there, and it's fun being able to like spot the miscues, not to like harp on the negatives too much.
Come
but
on,
it was
man.
Fun to like, it was fun to like spot like
Hall
when,
of Heroes. Yeah, those fucking audio issues, man. Like, Jesus
no, it was fun to spot like when Trace got like thrown under a bus when like there was like a miscue of what was coming next, and I could always tell when like Trace is like scrambling to find like a new segue when his brain is like working to like catch up to the change in the run of show. So that was fun. But no, the show was great. It was part of one of the reasons why like in some ways it was a little bit of a bummer to miss, because I've been like fighting. I've been talking with like every once in a while, like someone from ESL will come up and be like, what's like one thing that you want to change about like the tournaments we do? I'm like, and I've been saying since like 2017, I've been like, can we have like face-to-face competition? Can we put the teams face-to-face? And they finally did it, and I wasn't there. But that whole Hall of Heroes thing looked awesome. I thought the camera shots were really cool. I liked some of the extended, like the players being brought up on the desk afterwards as well for the interviews. I think that was good. And obviously the skits were strong this event. There were some really funny skits being thrown out there into the world. So yeah, it was a good time in my early morning excursions.
Well, that's the thing. For people, you know, they wonder, maybe they don't tune in all the time. They wonder where was Jason, Big Daddy O'Toole, you know, and well,
yeah,
I think Chad was feeling the pressure, Jason. You know, he actually came down a couple of times.
I had to fill the void that you had left.
Drink.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm missing all the things. Everyone, all these changes into the event. You were at the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to.
I'm like the social lubricant. I'm the one everyone can rely on to come have a drink at the end of the day.
Well, when Smick Suli's there, you know, that's enough to get anybody. You know,
Yep,
it's really good to see
She'll fill the
Sue.
void easily.
It was good to see Sue. You know, and that's the thing that we saw some faces that we hadn't seen in some time. There's some of them we only see at Katowice every year, and then you start reflecting on the fact, holy shit, how many fucking years has it been? We're in the year 2023. The first time I played in that venue was 2014. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, this is the first Katowice I missed since 2016 was my first one. So yeah, that was a bit weird. My yearly pilgrimage to Katowice is no longer going
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
like if you want to be talent and do tier 1 events, you have to. That's where the year starts.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where it all begins.
Have to pay your dues.
But no, it was. I mean, it was fun getting to just kind of like sit back and watch it and not have to, you know, do a bunch of work and just be able. Because I was taking like morning shifts with the baby, so I was getting up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and, you know, giving Jane some time to kind of like sleep straight through. So it was just me and the baby and the dogs chilling and watching the opening of the show and the opening games in the morning. So yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
How do you
How's
work it
that
out?
then?
Do you draw straws? Do you like, you know, is there a hierarchy in this situation on who's taking the mornings?
Yeah, the hierarchy is she's at the top and I'm at the bottom.
Okay,
You know,
yeah.
like,
Oh,
Seems
that's,
like
that's
the
just how it
baby,
works. Oh, the baby's up there at the top too. But yeah, I mean, well, you know. But yeah, there was that's kind of how it works, because I mean Jane's up every 2 to 3 hours throughout the night doing like diaper change, burp, feed, and all that jazz, and then I'm like, all right, time for you to get like 4 to 5 hours of sleep in a row, so I'll take over, and then it's my turn to do diapers and feeding and burping and all that fun stuff.
Is it fun though?
Sounds
like I
great,
imagine. No, like that's a serious kind of question here, right? Because like this is something that you have to. Well, some people don't choose, and it, you know, then they follow through and they gotta, you know. But this was a decision, right? So when you're doing this thing and you're looking after this tiny fucking human being, you know, are you like, yeah, this is kind of cool?
Yeah, I mean, fun's not the right word. Like it's
Joy.
There are a couple of fun moments, but I mean, with the baby being so young, she's only I think like 3.5 weeks old, right? Like 90% of
Yeah,
her
but you
time
made
is,
that
like,
shit, man.
I know, but like, you know, there's not like it's not like she's old enough to where like you can like play and interact. Like 90% of the time is sleeping, and that it's a diaper change, and that it's food. So it's
like a
fulfilling,
Tamagotchi,
and
really.
it's joyful, but it's not quite fun yet.
Yeah,
you
Chad,
know?
exactly like
Well,
that.
Tamagotchis were never fun, so I can see, you know, you'd carry them around and they'd kind of be a bit of a pain in the ass. But that's what I'm saying. So a newborn baby is like a Tamagotchi, but you're looking more for like a Furby experience,
Babies
Jason.
have a bit of a longer lifespan than a
Oh,
Tamagotchi
yeah.
I don't know.
as
Some people still got Tamagotchis from like the 90s, rocking and rolling.
Come on, man.
Don't
I bet
underestimate
those
it.
Come
are worth,
on,
like, thousands
man.
of
I swear to
dollars now.
God.
What,
You'd
they're
be
like keeping
surprised.
them alive?
Hell yeah. You got to clean up the poop in the Tamagotchi if you remember. You got to feed it.
What do you do when you take the battery out?
I don't know. I didn't get into the Tamagotchi universe. I'm just saying there's people out there that still have Tamagotchis going strong.
We might need to get someone out there to find the answers. Yeah, how many, Jason? How many you got? Explains a lot. I can see Jason out there on his keychain. Some people rocking around with the Tamagotchis on their keychain. But
that was like my wallet chain. It was like my Tamagotchi chain from the 90s.
But we were going back, right? Last night, I know you were. Did you make a tweet about your mate Rihanna, mate? Were you chatting shit about the halftime show?
No, but I'll say it now. I didn't. I thought it was. A lot of people were praising it, and it was good.
But she's got a massive catalog, mate.
Yeah, well, it was funny because like
smashing them out.
I don't know her music all that well.
Oh, you know
so
Umbrella.
many songs. I know the music, but I didn't know that they were like her. Like so, like all the times we've been at the club over the years, and I was like, oh, this is Rihanna, cool. Like, and I just didn't know it at the time. But like, I don't know. I was, we really threw away the pretense that anyone is like trying, is like actually singing, right? Like the lip sync was in full effect. I'll tell you what,
was
though,
she?
For her,
Jason, are you one of these people who, when, there's a music act before the fucking grand final of an event, you're right. This is quite harsh on Riri, mate. She's pregnant. She's an icon.
That's where I was gonna go next. Is the fact that she did all that pregnant is pretty fucking incredible. So I mean, I'm not gonna be too critical. I just, I'm a boomer, and now I'm a dad, so I'm kind of like,
you're not a boomer, motherfucker.
Bring me back. My music tastes are boomers.
Oh yes, his music
I'm
taste
like,
is boomerish.
I am like, bring me like the Rolling Stones, like bring me those old school like rock and roll bands to do something like to actually like play a set. I'm not a huge fan of like the lip syncing and like that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's fine. I don't care enough about the halftime show to get upset over it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, okay. Well, Janko, what about this? Are you getting yourself a Denzel Curry music kit, mate? Did you see that? You seen the Counter-Strike crossover we got right now?
Who is Denzel Curry? I don't even know who that is.
Come on, man. Come on, Jason, man.
Chad is disappointed.
He's a rapper, but I like some of the music. Well, that I like of his is not even just him rapping. Like he did a cover of Rage Against the Machine's "Bulls on Parade" on this thing called Like a Version, which is on like a Australian radio station called Triple J, and then like part of like this, we have a pretty decent music scene in Australia, and this bloke came down and people do covers, and the covers, some of them, I don't know, they're pretty popular. Anyway, and he covered that, which was pretty wild because he really embodied, I think, the anger that song has. And then he's like on one with like Glass Animals. Like anyway, doesn't matter. I think he's got some bangers. I don't know if Janko. See, Janko, you don't have boomer music taste, do you?
My music taste
no,
is
he
weird.
is Serbian pop music though.
I have like I go everywhere, depending on the mood with my music. I guess the most boomer I go would be maybe Duran, something like that.
Well, that's not that boomer. That's
some 80s maybe in there. All out 80s on Spotify. That goes on.
I can't believe you just picked Duran.
Oh, what do you have against Duran? The Wild Boys, man. Wild Boys.
Nothing. I'm just surprised that that's the one you went for, but it's cool.
Thanks.
Well, so how about that music, huh? Talk like what was it like being there? It looked like you guys. It looked like there were a lot of changes to the show and everything. Was that all well and good behind the scenes?
I really like the caster setup. I'm very happy that we had that phone call with Mr. Carmack, and he had Vlad on the line, and they sorted it out. Because
it looked cool when I saw your video on Twitter.
Yeah, like how many years have we been saying, hey, like the caster setup's not ideal, but we've kind of not been doing anything about it. And then I told the Mac that I thought it'd be nice to have a different setup, and he made it happen, and that feels really nice.
Yeah.
The standing desk, the monitors on arms for both casters. You got 4 monitors between the two of you, and then you got a PGM screen in the middle. It's a gaming machine, so you can be in the server or for GoTV. I've got fucking Shadow GG open, looking at stuff in between matches, checking shit out. There's got the stats up. Vlad's built like the caster dashboard. That's on the go. So you got.
But I mean, I feel like that's historically been like only operational 30% of the time.
It's in the playoffs, right? Other than that,
okay.
It's because you don't really need it until you get to the playoffs. Yeah. I feel it's nice to have, but it's a good playoff exclusive, I feel. But yeah, the setup was good. That was nice. Working on the event from casting side, it felt pretty similar. I think I did come on the desk a little bit more. Like I think I made like two appearances just to say hi.
Slowly but surely coming back to it.
Just to say hi.
For us, it was it was cool. Like the setup looks great, being closer to the players, more dynamic. Right, you can start segments from different places, and it took a couple of days to figure out, all the things we could do. We had some cool ideas. The telestrator thing was top down. I'm still not so sure about it. Like, I don't know where it's at. I don't mind it personally. I don't know if it looks better or worse on the broadcast compared to the other thing. I
think it looked cool when you had a second person there with you, because it kind of opens up the ability to have that second person. Because if you're like presenting on the telestrator screen, standing up behind you, you can't really incorporate another person all that well.
Yeah, that feels like it has to be a lot more rehearsed, right? And it's not natural for everybody to stand to the screen that way. Whereas looking down, the camera's just on you. It's kind of a more natural way to explain
Probably,
something, I feel.
for a guest player or something like that, it's easier. I feel like body language is important as well. So I think they found a balance later on where they move another camera as well, so they can switch between shots where, I'd maybe look at the camera and you can see my upper body, or the top-down shot where you just see the screen and the pointing stuff.
But that could be that could probably be sorted. Like if we work out the way which like camera shots they should cut to, depending on what you're explaining. Like when you're explaining stuff that doesn't actually need like drawing or telestration, maybe at that moment, the body language, so they're having like a shot of you as well in a pip or something would be good, right? Because then you get to use the body language. People would still see the clip playing. Because when you're actually telestrating something, they'll see your body language while you're drawing, right? Like they'll see your hand doing the drawing of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just like got a little bit weird in the playoffs with the headsets, because we had the ones with the cable over your head. And then it's like you have to take the headset off at the desk, walk 10 feet over to the telestrator, put a different pair of headset there. And for whatever reason, you used to have like buffers for that, to go to a highlight package, and then you would move and you would be muted, and you just start off from the different position, and then I finish it, throw it back to Trace, goes to an interview or maybe whatever, and then you come back. But for whatever reason, we were like just on camera while we were doing this, so you're fumbling around with the mics. You have to press the cough button because you hear that as you're moving around. So that was a bit, I think it could have been cleaner. And we had the sort of pre-show like at the Conquer side. Oh, that was fun as well. Probably could have been a little bit longer so we could actually discuss stuff, and felt like we were just going from sending it from one thing to another. It was awesome to have players more involved. Twists, obviously a revelation for some of those playoff games. I think his insight was really cool, because sometimes we maybe miss some of the mechanical things or don't focus on it as much from our perspective. We're like building the storyline and looking at the big picture, and he's looking at the minutia and like, oh yeah, I think that was like a bad angle. If he had a different angle, they would have a better chance in the round or something along those lines. So that was fun.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed watching. I think I think that it was a good event. I don't know. There's obviously stuff to sit there and look at, but I just got home. I'm gonna take a day, and then I'm gonna fucking
Don't work yourself too hard. Get a little rest day in there.
Yeah, it was a fun event. I enjoyed myself, and I'm just watching the Super Bowl movies. The trailers had Fast and the Furious 10. That's the core of this episode.
Jason
we started
Momoa
with the
is
Super
coming in
Bowl.
there.
We're returning to the Super Bowl. Yeah, what's he doing in there? I haven't seen. He's making an appearance right now in a Fast and the Furious movie.
When I saw that last night on that preview, I was like, that guy's got to live like the best fucking life in the world. Ever since Game of Thrones, like he just like pops up and does like his one cool like little role, probably makes a few $1 million, and then just gets to go fuck off and chill and do whatever he wants. He has like a
he was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he was in the first season. He was the I forget his name. He was like
the Dothraki.
Yeah, the Dothraki chieftain that first wedded Daenerys.
He's in Dune, the movie.
Yep, he's in Dune as well. He also has a show out. I watched a little bit of it. He does like it's like a, like reality competition show, but it's on like rock climbing. So like he just like takes like 10 people all around the world to these different like cool places to go rock climbing, and everyone has to try and climb the fucking wall, and then they rate them and they vote someone off. But he just gets to show up and like host it and the cool place in the world, and then he dips onto his next thing. So he's got a great life. Now he's in Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
With Vin Diesel.
And Vin Diesel. There was this thing on Netflix. Probably it's still there. It's like movie cliches or something. So
isn't Netflix dead now? Didn't they kill Netflix?
I don't know.
They've really headed in a rough direction, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't know, but
they're getting wrecked in Canada, I think. And I think Canada's had like I don't know how accurate this stuff is, but it seems like, at least from like the headlines on like Reddit and like Twitter and everything, is that a lot of Canadians are just like getting out of it, because they now require you to you have to log into your home network like once a month. So some people are just like, nope, I'm fucking done.
Oh, a lot of people travel, right? But that's because I loaded it up to make sure Netflix was still real. When Janko said Netflix, I was like, I thought they killed Netflix. Okay, I'm on the Netflix, Janko. What's the show?
All right, so it's about movie cliches, and Jason Bateman is like hosting it, and it's goes on for like maybe an hour 15 minutes, hour 20 minutes, and one of it is like the funeral shot or whatever. So like there's a funeral, and there's a guy from the distance, overlooking the funeral, and there's always this shot from behind the guy overlooking it to get everything, and he's explaining in this thing why directors do that, to get this, that, for the storyline. Then he said, Fast and the Furious, of course, took it to another level. They have what's the name of the guy who died, like overlooking the funeral,
Paul Walker
overlooking the funeral, and then they have Vin Diesel overlooking Paul Walker overlooking the funeral. And just the way he says it, and then it cuts to that shot, is just actually hilarious. I think it was a pretty funny thing to see. It's like some of the stuff that you've noticed, or it kind of, once they mention it, you're like, that's true actually. You didn't think about it, but it actually happens. So yeah, I'd recommend a watch. It's like it's funny. It's not too long. It's cool.
There's some like cool podcasts with like actors like that. Like Bateman's a legend, but I know like I listened to a podcast about like Parks and Recreation, the show, and Rob Lowe is on it, and I just found it interesting like hearing him talk about the filming industry, because like they go through like some of the same issues that we have, obviously on a bigger scale, but like even TV show production days are like sometimes 16, 17 hours, and I know we've had some of those long days too, but they talk about all like the behind the scenes, like politics of like all these, with like social media coming in and all this content being created for different platforms, and the battle between like the acting talent and having to like say no to doing like extra social media content because they're not being paid for it. It's like all these battles that I feel like we've kind of gone through too. Like it's funny hearing that like Hollywood actors are dealing with some of the same stuff as well.
Fucking hell, Jason, don't compare us to Hollywood actors, mate. Jesus, Joseph and Mary.
I thought that was a fair comparison. It wasn't that intense.
You guys.
Fucking hell.
Soon. G2 as well.
Yeah, well, that G2 skit was pretty funny. I thought that was...
Harry one?
Yeah.
No, it's not Jason Bateman. It's Rob Lowe. And it's called Attack of the Hollywood Cliches.
Okay. All right. We'll pencil it in here. We'll see if we've got I don't know, so different activations in different parts of the world. There's, are we in Atlantis? That's the question. That's the next rabbit hole you can dive down here. We're talking about, I don't know, there's, it's like in the Sahara Desert. There's like these concentric circles, man. They're out there in the desert. They think that maybe that's where Atlantis was. They're talking about the idea of civilizations. Now we got fucking UFOs going on. What's going on with that, Jason?
I don't know.
You keep closing down the airspace, man. What's going
on?
They
closed down the airspace over Lake Michigan the other day, right before the Super Bowl. I got a bunch of messages about that. I got no idea, man.
Yeah, because
apparently
a civilization that's capable of interstellar travel would come here in balloons.
Come on, Jason, go see what's going on. All right, head up there. Just drive up,
dinghy,
go out there, see what's going on up there. Well, what's up there? That's the thing.
Get
they're
a
saying
shotgun out, Jason, just shoot at it.
But they're saying part of the world, right? They're saying that over like this area. But what's it actually? What's down there? Is it water?
It's been a bunch of different parts. I know like the first one was over like Alaska and like parts of like the Yukon territory.
What have I got to Google here?
That one was shot down over Cumtown.
Okay.
That
What?
was fun.
Or
Yeah, it
what?
was. I think it's Cumtown, Alaska.
All right. The porn capital of the world.
But yeah, apparently the
What a
U.S. Air
name.
Force has shot down like 4 UFOs in the past like week.
I think they changed the name of UFOs to something else now, but like they give them a different name, a different
Oh
acronym.
yeah, but that was a couple of years back. Did you even discuss this? Like with one of the first episodes, I think it might be.
Did we?
I can't remember.
Oh,
But
fuck.
I know we talked about this at some point.
But the UFO stuff, man, it's got nothing to do with the Atlantis stuff I was talking about.
They're all different shapes as well. Like one of them they said was a cylinder, another one was in the shape of an octagon. So I think nobody really knows what's happening.
So this is the thing, man. We got no information. We need some information. And we know the White House, they've been releasing documents and stuff. It's all, I don't know any of this. I'm just like hell milking the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, they haven't released the JFK ones yet.
So no one knows what's going on, man. No one knows. And in the world where we're all walking around with these cameras attached to our fucking hands, giving us information at all times, someone's got to know. There's got to be some video out there, Jason. I don't
There's
believe
gotta
it.
be.
Do you see what I put in the chat here?
Classified, Chad.
This
Yeah.
is the concentric circles, man.
It's on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need.
Man,
You don't need to know.
someone's got to. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well,
Strong day.
yeah. Should we transition into a bit of a? Man, you're bang on though, Janko. The travel day into getting home. I think I had more sleep than you. I think I managed a few more hours. I had
You
to.
didn't stay up drinking until 4 in the morning?
I think I left at like 3 or something, and then yeah,
You guys are on like my departure
Well, I mean-
schedule. I'm usually the first one out.
Well, I didn't think this through, right? When I was like picking my flight back, I was thinking I want to be home sooner.
Oh, I
So,
meant I went to bed at
I'm
3
only going
a.m.
to be
Yeah.
home for a week and whatever, and I didn't think about that. Well, I was actually most likely going to fly my girl over anyway. So like,
What's the rush? Yeah,
I could
yeah,
have
yeah.
gotten us a later flight, so at least get some sleep and not be completely wrecked. Like this was just, it wasn't great. But last year when G2 lost, I missed my flight because we were drinking until like, I don't know, early in the morning. So this time at least
It's never
I
good
made
when you
it.
miss your flight.
I made it home, yeah.
My shuttle was at 10:10. That felt like the perfect time. You could get enough sleep in. You'd still feel a little bit miserable,
But
you know, but
do
you
you
could
like
get
the-
enough sleep in.
do you like the chant, Chad?
I don't know what's being. I know that the players' names are being said, and that
Yeah.
there's a lot of joy being expressed in that moment, and there's jumping and a bit like a conga line. And other than that, I don't really know what's going on.
Well, the
but
Congo line is just kind of, it's like a, just to, I don't know why that happened. But it's from the Ciao Bella song. Basically, that's the beat to it. So then it goes na 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 na, and then it goes na na na, Nico, na na na, Hunter, JKS, hooxi, Monesi, G2. It's not bad. Chev like kind of came up with it. But I
Okay,
think it's
so
hard
it's
to coordinate like a large group of people like in the arena. If 15 of them would start it. Actually, I don't know. Maybe it isn't. That would be interesting to see. If they
It doesn't
go to a
seem
next
that difficult
event.
to start.
If it catches fire, Chad, like if it picks up,
well, no
know.
teams really have chants, right?
Vitality has.
What are they? Well, I don't understand.
La,
Right? Aren't they in
la,
French?
La la. Vitality. That's it. But it's cool though.
Okay, I don't know what the
Brazilians have
chants
them
are.
in Brazil.
Yeah, well, that's true. They do have something a little bit different over there. There's fucking drums as well, though. I don't know if we got any drums out here.
into the playoffs, they won't see a crowd for a while though. But yeah.
Well, yeah. It's not, yeah, maybe, but no,
Maybe.
probably not. But anything's possible, right? Complexity are top 10 in the world right now, so
No, are they really?
yeah, they went up 8 places today.
Holy shit! Good for them.
Yeah, well, they had some big wins, right? Like, and I think we spoke about it when Janko did a quick one the other week, and this is the reason we know that you don't listen to the show, Jason, is because we ask people when we're doing shows.
I was a little busy. I just want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. But we were saying, maybe while you were rocking the baby to sleep, we could have been in one ear, just
the
listening
dulcet
to.
tones,
Yeah,
Chad and Yang.
but
I got a bunch of tweets. People saying you were talking shit about me.
and that's the thing. We weren't talking shit about you. What we said was that we know Jason doesn't listen to the podcast, so tweet and say that we said something horrible about him.
So I listened to it.
Yeah, so that you'd have to tune in and see what happened. But
Joke's on you.
It didn't even happen. But the people at home played along. So fucking shout out to all those people who definitely got involved in some of the action. And I'm sure some of the days Jason would be waking up going, what the fuck? Like
I would just refresh Twitter and be like, what the hell is this shit? Like, what's going on now?
And we never explained it, Janko. Like he pasted in a bunch of the tweets, and we never really explained it. We just kind of left it.
Just left me on red.
Let him stew, like not.
Yeah, because if you really wanted to know, you would have listened. That's where that's how. So you didn't care. So
Even then, you didn't care to listen.
Yeah, but that was fun. That was fun.
I trusted you guys to do a great job. I didn't feel like I needed to hover.
No, but that's the thing. What we were talking about on one of these was about complexity, right? But we didn't really go. I don't think we went super in depth, Janko. We kind of said, like the teams that we saw doing better, like I don't know if the more unexpected but positive things, right? Complexity was one of them. IHC was the other. And I think some of the keys with both of these teams, it just felt like they played like good fundamental Counter-Strike, well, especially for complexity, and then it felt like they were freed up a bit. It felt like they were happy to make plays. Like hooxi was doing some crazy shit, some stuff where he was staying like out of position and overextended and getting away with it because people were just expecting like their default control to hold them back, but hooxi would just find these weird fucking timings. So that was fun to watch. That's when he really started to come online.
Yeah,
and sometimes players can do that.
He's the 10th. He's the 10th highest rated player for the tournament. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
He had some ridiculous clutches.
Yeah, he had tons of impact. I remember, was it you and me, Chad? We did this chat with the Heroic and G2 before the playoffs when they were just both in the semifinals. And I asked Katie about Complexity because Complexity was the only team to take a map off of them in the groups. And he said that he feels like they added more variety to their game, that they were easy to read before, only had a couple of strats that they were running and stuff. So that the players are playing with more confidence, it shows. And that hooxi and Grim have, stepped up a lot. And that really
Grim had an incredible performance as an individual, which was really cool to see. Him and hooxi were really. I don't know. I remember watching it at some point, and I felt like everyone from Complex, like hooxi and Grim, were there pretty much throughout the event. But even like guys like Floppy had a good game here or there, a good map to kind of deliver them a win in a series. JT had some really good calls. Fang was decent. I'm still looking for like Fang to kind of have that little like step up in his level of game. But yeah, this was an awesome tournament to watch them. It was a lot of fun. I was happy that they had success, and that now they have now they just have to build upon it, right? Like it's nice to get into top 10, but consistent results are what's going to kind of change the view of them more than anything.
Yeah, it's hard to stay there, but like they'll get opportunities soon to go up against some teams, right? Yeah, right. So we'll get to see them again like pretty shortly.
And that's a very I don't want to say like winnable group, but that's a group that you would imagine after a performance like that in Complexity. Oh, they're not in Group A.
No, Group B.
Group B. Yeah, that's a group that has. I mean, they should be able to do some damage in that group. After what we saw at Katowice.
I'd say so because you have to consider a lot of factors here. Like one, didn't like Sirison benched himself on big, right? So he's not.
That's outrageous, by the way.
He's not on big.
Later, but
Movistar have really been struggling since Sampaius left. Imperial just failed the other day from qualifying for the IEM Brazil thing with a loss to Fluxo. So they're like
Fury is a question mark.
No, that happened, Chad.
It was the open qualifier for the IEM Brazil South American Open Qualifier 2.
Is there a closed qualifier?
Yeah. There's a big qualifier.
They weren't invited for the closed one.
I don't think so. I don't think they had enough points. I don't know. Let me see.
They just made those roster changes too, so they might have gotten docked a couple of points.
That's true too. Yeah, they did change a bunch of players. Like Fur's out now as well.
Well, how do you call this Polish team name? Nine what? Just.
Oh, 9. Yeah.
Just 9
with Hades. Yeah,
okay.
and
9 and Big made it.
Yeah, but that's kind of crazy, right?
Count.
Yeah. Well, but we spoke about that.
We spoke
man.
about it. It's just silly.
It's just
face it.
It doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows what should happen. It's crazy that it hasn't. I don't know what's holding it up. So, yeah, that's that. That's what it is. But who else is in this fucking bracket here? Oh yeah, Furia. I don't know. I think Furia have stayed in Europe, right? Haven't they been practicing more? I think they were going to boot camp in Europe and just hang around, or maybe I'm wrong. I thought I saw that in one of their stories.
I would imagine after you lose the play in such a fashion, getting knocked out before even making the group stage, you would have to like make a drastic decision to stick around and practice as best you can. Like that, I mean, losing to Big, losing to IHC, that had to have been super painful for Furia.
You know what I feel, boys? I feel we're fucking due a proper Brazilian shuffle, like a big one.
But how can it happen, right? Like
After the major, I don't know. They all fucking fail and realize, they need to change. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it feels like there's maybe maybe even three good teams. Three competitive teams that could be there if you shuffle things around.
We just keep having an issue with the in-game leader, right? Like that's where we seem to find ourselves getting stuck.
For Furia especially, yeah. But this Insani kid in MMBR is Insani.
That's true.
He's pretty sick, super sharp. Seems like that his communication is good as well. They've been praising him for that too. And they just got him out of the academy team. He's 18 or something like that. So.
You see as well, like PKO is on the bench over there at Pain, and now they brought Neckers back in. So there's like changes going on within that team that's already had a lot of. So I feel like there's a lot of instability in a lot of the Brazilian teams as it is right now. The only one that stayed the same is Furia, and we feel like they're the only ones that should have made a change. It's kind of crazy, right?
I feel like I wonder how much Brazil, because I mean they were probably the region I feel for a while was most impacted by like the old school like contract issues where buyouts were just like too high to really shut, like all these orgs are just want ridiculous amounts of money to like shuffle those rosters. And I feel like this is just a long-term effect of that where you can't properly make any changes because everything's too expensive and unreasonable. And now you kind of have 3 Brazilian teams kind of knocking on the door, but no one can actually cross over. No one can actually make it.
I think like I guess like in hindsight, looking at the Imperial situation, I would have liked them to have gotten some new names because it's not like Cello and Joda are new names either, really. Right? It doesn't feel like they're that fresh. I feel like we've been seeing their names in like bits and pieces over the last couple of years. To be fair, you look at their stats for the team, well, pretty good. So then you go, all right, well, maybe they did make the right call. But then what's going on? Do they need to get rid of some of the other older parts of the squad? There's a lot of questions to ask yourself. There's too many, and there's no answers. I think unless a really big player decides they want to spend the money, right? Someone has to come in with just like a fat sack, which is, I don't even know if it's possible, right? Like, especially with the economic climate that we find ourselves in now. So it might stay like this for...
The impending economic climate.
I guess the only way this really happens is if people... like the players themselves just do the self-benching shit, and then the org kind of is left in no position but to trade them for something reasonable. Otherwise, they just won't play. So, that could be one scenario, which is the worst. That's like the nuclear option. You want to try and avoid that one if you can. Mouse is here as well. I think Mouse were very disappointed with their start to the year. We heard Cycron talking about it in a post-game interview when they were eliminated. So they've got a lot to prove in this group. So there's hungry teams here, I guess, is kind of the point. Heroic off the back of the grand final loss, going to be hungry to just bounce back and own everybody. Big with the new Orpa boy, they're going to give it a crack. Complexity want to back up their performance. Imperial, I guess, against Furia, like that's a domestic matchup. I guess that could be fun. And so it's always so weird with the Portuguese teams, man. Like, there's always the same couple of names, and then a couple of guys get swapped to this roster and that roster. It'd be interesting to see how they are, and then Mouse. But we can talk about Pro League like next week, because this is the cool thing.
Yeah.
You boys are all going to be here, and we can do the potty here, and we can do it IRL.
Chad will cook.
Well, I'll order something. You just let me know what you want. I can cook at the air fryer, mate. You can't go wrong with the air fryer. You can do anything you really need with it. It's one of the keys to my success at the moment. The air fryer.
Who else was exciting and surprisingly exciting, and or what other surprising performances out of Katowice? Let's see.
IHC.
Yeah, IHC was cool.
It's hard to talk about it though, right? Like, because the way that they're playing Counter-Strike, it's good, but then sometimes it's like not so good. Sometimes it just seems like really out of place, right? So you can see that they're learning, but it feels like they're learning quite quickly. But the question becomes like, how many opportunities do they get? And but we find ourselves back on the same topic, right? So they're definitely going to get it. But where are they now? Did they go back home?
I hope not.
Well, maybe they have to play in like major qualification stuff, because isn't all that happening at the moment? I'm not sure if it's just for Europe right now.
What region do they have to play in? Do they have to play in the Asian one, I would imagine, right? Yeah.
I haven't checked when that's on, but this is the thing. Today, the qualifiers kicked off. So the open ones are on. I was just jumped into an eyeballers match before, and they were just versing like people who probably not even like global elite in matchmaking, I would say. That's how
they have to play in the qualifier this weekend, February 17th to 19th, the Asian RMR closed qualifier.
Okay, so they have to be back at home then. So fuck, that's the bit that sucks. They got to go home, and it's the same with the Greyhound boys. They've got to go home, and I think the Greyhound boys, they definitely need just more practice overseas. I just think being at home, they're not learning anything. They're not being challenged enough, and it's a bit of a problem. And then you look at IHC, and then they're looking so good, but I don't know. I'm trying to ask myself the question: do IHC have better practice partners across the board? And they probably do. Like there's teams like Rare Adam and stuff.
They're fine with like just popping on FaceIt with 130 ping and
yeah. You can't really do that from
Isn't
Australia.
this the team? This is the team that just like 5Qs FaceIt with like high ping, right?
Yeah,
like, that's like how they get their like practice, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, so I don't know. They're more than happy to play the European FaceIt. So that's the thing. It sucks that they have to go back home, and hopefully they do qualify for the major. Then they'll be on a good streak of events, and I guess it would be fun to see that region kind of develop.
Yeah, it sucks. You could tell. I mean, we talked about this plenty, but Yakinder to Liquid and all that thing, and a team like Liquid, he had to update them with the meta and whatnot. So imagine a team coming from the Asian region, how far behind they would be. Liquid's, also a team that's a partner team and competing in all these leagues and so forth. So yeah, that's why I feel for these teams just getting like a European coach, right, or a coach who has experience in the European Counter-Strike scene, right, just to sort of help them keep up with the meta, right. I think it's good players, and they're probably playing the most Western style CS out of any Asian team. I think that's why they're finding some success. So I'm hoping they can just build on that in the future. And they also played with their sixth guy, didn't even have the proper five I imagine they would have wanted. So
yeah, I'm having a look right now, see when they were last playing matches, at least on their FaceIt accounts. I'm just fucking doing a bit of snooping right here, just seeing what's going on the interwebs. But I think if they're able to, get this spree of events, right, qualify, get into the major, be able to just like link all of these things together, that'd be the best way, right? Because then they'll be consistently getting opportunities to play overseas. And because they're obviously doing the work, right? They're watching the way that the game is played. They're studying the way that the way the rounds are opened, or the decision making trees that are out there, and they've implemented a lot of that. But now they're just trying to put it in practice, and then whatever they have gaps on, because this is one of the things, man. Like you can watch a demo, you can even like understand the concept of why they're trying to do it, but it's different when you play against it. Like it kind of has a different feel to it. I remember like different teams when they had different pacings, it felt so janky because you'd have the way that you'd normally open a round, but now you have to have so many different fucking variations of that. And you have to make sure like the game is so fluid now. There's so many transitions off of reactions. It's kind of wild. Like the level that teams, I don't know. I feel like there's a conversation out there at the moment, and people are entitled to have whatever conversations they want, but it's one that hasn't really broached my mind of people going, oh, the scene feels weak now. But I feel like the high level guys like Heroic and G2 right now, people are saying, oh, there's good aim and stuff. And that's why, and that's true. There's definitely really good aim, good individual ability. But the amount of cohesive decision making at the level at the moment is fucking crazy. There's always something happening. It's never static. It's dynamic. It can be a joy to watch.
Atomic CS chat.
So is that the brand you're going for here, Janko?
Yeah.
Is that?
I'm going for that, basically.
Well, that's the thing. But that's what it could be called. That's a bit more of a succinct way than what I was saying, right? Like what I'm trying to say is very verbose. But what you're boiling it down to that, which is great. Like if we can use that as a term to define what we're seeing, and people respect like that definition, that's good. That's good vernacular.
For me, it basically just means teams who are at a level of team play and been together for long enough that they know what they're doing, like what they're going to do on the map of pretty much every single round is going to make sense. They're not going to gift away rounds by doing something silly, and also have great individuals who can transcend the game and win quote unquote unwinnable rounds, right, and get them out of stupid situations, which is the blueprint by which G2 has won this tournament, has been winning games, which is the blueprint by which FaZe was the team of the year last year, so that's why you get that to happen. I mean, you even heard it from Elige when we did the grand final pre-show. You heard it from Cadian in the post-game interview, the losers interview after the final. It's like, we were discussing these rounds where they're 2v4 and 2v5 or whatever, and that we can't give them away, that we have to be careful in these post plans and so on. And it still happens, and that's what happens against any team that's in championship level form, right? Like they find a way to force you to make errors, or you make unforced errors because you get in your own head. I think that's what we saw a little bit of the heroic players. I mean, the reset round against Liquid in the semifinal on Anubis, Hunter and JKS win a 2v5. Like, that's crazy, against a team as experienced as Liquid. They were winning 2v4s against FaZe. Then there's the round from Hunter, obviously. I think it was 12-12, the score on opening map on Nuke, where he has an ace clutch. They somehow find a way to retake B3 before. Like, those are just crazy, crazy rounds, right? That you see, and you can see almost, the other team unravel a little bit.
I think one of the keys was like maybe the little details, right? And this is the thing, you don't always catch it when you're observing, because you're traditionally looking for a fight, but there's all these like little micro plays that are going on of people trying to set up the next fight. Like tiny details as simple as, so Monacy's AWPing Ticket, so he does a circle jump out from like the missiles just next to Ticket, right? Just to quick check connector to see if anyone's in there. Like just quick circle jump, info, bang, he's back, and then he'll know if it's connector or not and be able to jump up on Ticket and go for that fight. Or there's the thing like when on Nuke, the Heroic Boys tried to come out, one of them was coming out squeaky, I think it was Yabby, and Monacy was jumping, or maybe it was Monacy, maybe it was hooxi, I forget which one.
Monacy who was jumping, making
up Tetris.
Noise.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Hunter like did a step forward, step back, so it drew the crosshair, and then Monacy and him both swung back in. And like those little details, like that right there that's fucking beautiful. That right there is knowing your teammate, man. Like there's no way that's the conversation that they've had here. They both just know the best way to draw this motherfucker's crosshair so he's not getting a kill.
Well, I'm gonna try this. I don't know if this is a bad idea for an audio podcast, but when we were doing prep for the game, for the grand final or for the semifinal, and I'm looking, the first gun round is 2v4 that Hunter and JKS won against FaZe, 2-0 down, T side, Nuke. So there's so many details. First thing, they throw slightly delayed smokes outside the T-red secret wall, right? But Nico and Hunter are already behind T-red, so they swing before the smokes pop. Now this is because they know that FaZe doesn't have an op, they have AKs, and they want to catch a player off guard who, when he sees the smoke, he might pull off a molly to throw it to secret stairs, right, in the night time or do whatever. So there's that little detail, and they see Rain in garage and they start running towards secret, right? But you have Monacy and hooxi who are walking behind them. So basically the plan is to give away 2 players, show them. At that point it can be 3 ramp, 2 secret split. It can be, the players could be sneaking behind them like Monacy and hooxi were trying to do, but it did get spotted by Rain, right, as well, and he saw the bomb, and that's why Twist goes down, and then G2 has 4 players in secret. Twist and Brocky are down in a bait and switch, which was a really cool setup, and Twist gets 2 kills, and G2 is 3v4, but they see Twist, right, they know he's the A player, so they understand there's probably a gap somewhere else. JKS, who's the lobby player in this round, he's actually in the main cabin, he's watching their back in secret, so that's when he starts playing, because they're in a 3v4. If he doesn't try to do something now, they're probably stuck in secret, they can't do anything, and they saw Twist, so he starts lurking outside. Hunter is using nades through office, throwing shit. First, hooxi tries to peek Decon, he dies, but this is also to draw attention to himself so JKS can play. He's coming under heaven, and you can see Rain is on ramp, and he's watching ramp, because they know JKS is the lobby player, and they expect him to come ramp and help him from that side. But JKS finds timing, he goes up the ladder, he doesn't even see Kerrigan first time around because of the barrel of his gun, but here's Rain who's running back up. Hunter is coming up, Vance throws again a smoke so that the A player is not looking towards heaven, and then JKS kills Rain, kills Kerrigan. They're 2v2, JKS swings outside, kills Brocky 2v1, and Rob's can't win the 2v1. And when you look at that, you're like, they won a 2v4, the other team messed it up. But there's so many little things that these great teams and great players do. That's what we call that situational Counter-Strike, where you're also making it difficult for the other team to piece the puzzle together, and by the time they do, it's already a little bit too late. So you have so many examples. Like if you dig deep into a map that these teams play, G2 FaZe, G2 Heroic, whatever, that it's like really cool to kind of see it all.
What about Outsiders NaVi though?
Well, I mean, I know you hated that, but it's also two teams
I didn't hate it. I hated it from having a
it.
caster perspective, because when you're doing a game in the arena, I can't just sit there and do, this is the default they're doing, like this is what they're trying to, it needs to have a little bit more to it than that.
Outsiders is really hard for arena casting.
Like now, and NaVi also play quite slow, right? So like those two combined, right? But like in terms of, the audience was very quiet as well, right? So there wasn't a whole lot of like level in the room.
There's not a lot of
that
like
thing.
high energy moments in it to like get them like hyped up and get that energy kind of flowing through
they
the
don't go
audience.
for it as much, right? So you don't see some of these crazy clutches. Like you wouldn't see Outsiders in that 3v4 that Hunter won ace clutch. They would have saved 10 seconds before that. They would have.
Didn't you tweet some stat during the event, Janko, that like James had actually like saved more rounds than Outsiders had?
No,
he was exactly what the stat was.
He was alive. There was something like whether he was alive in more rounds that they won, or no, he was
Something
alive for like in a round. He was alive for average on like 1 and 35 seconds. I can't really remember.
I think what.
Hey everybody, you may be wondering, why did I just hear a record scratch in the middle of talking counter? Well, we had a couple of technical issues yesterday. A slight doohickey with recording from one of our members, which has left us in a bit of a scenario where we were unable to sync the remaining audio of the show. So right now, we're about to jump back in a recording now that will be done on Tuesday, the 14th, Valentine's Day. And we'll be just tacking this onto the end of the 50 minutes that you've heard so far. So I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope that you can see the humor in this, and a couple more updates overnight that have come out in the Counter-Strike world that we'll be diving into. Thank you for listening. Okay,
That was pretty good.
Is everyone happy with that?
Are you happy with that being the?
I feel like now I
audio
have to be much more militant. I think now I'm going to be stern. I'm going to sit with my back straight, a book on the top of my head, laser fucking focus from
firm
now
but
on.
fair.
I'm ready to tear. I don't want people fucking shit in the bed on stage, mate. That was a simple reference. It was. But Janko, do you want to explain to everybody what happened?
Welcome to the last episode of Talking Counter. Chad's done with me after this.
No, you should have seen. I actually had some fun. You'll hear it in the episode, but I went and recorded like a little thing of like, hey, and I grabbed some like free to use sound effects as well. So where I've cut it off of where we were talking at about the 50-minute mark, I just fucking cut it clean off, like Jason saying, I don't know, and then the record scratches. And then we get into me going, hey guys, we had a bit of a technical issue. And then I have the record start back up again. And then now we're here again. So it actually made me have to move some things around. It was kind of cool. I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, you did.
So in a way, you helped me learn a skill.
You did your best, but for the people, it just like I muted myself for a little bit during the recording to fix something on the PC, and when I muted myself, I didn't realize that would also stop the recording. So then we were all out of sync, and now we have to do it all over again. And Chad hates me. We're not friends anymore.
That is not true.
Strictly per business conversations are being had, but that's fine. Maybe one day, I can regain his trust.
Just want to make it clear that that's not true. That's not a true statement. I deny this.
So we're still mates?
You know what? Of course.
Yeah,
you know what?
Now I feel much better.
I just needed fucking 12 hours worth of sleep. I woke up today and it was fucking midday.
Glorious, were the birds
I was
chirping?
like, thank God. Well, no, the car horns were going off. That's what was happening. There wasn't any birds, mate. There is a gum tree out the front of my house, but there's not too many fucking birds in it. That's for sure. But I've had a lot of rest.
You've earned
I've
it.
done 12 loads of laundry. I've maybe over-exaggerated by about 6. When you live on your own and you come home and the fucking power's out, and then like whatever state you left the house in, so you got to give everything a bit of a wipe down. Everything needs a bit of a clean. There's so much laundry to do. Yeah, you were a dumb cunt. You didn't fucking put the bedding on the bed before you left. So now it's late at night. You're tired. You're already miserable. Now you're putting fucking pillowcases on pillows because your stupid self didn't do it before you left. But then you sleep and you enjoy that sleep, and you just know you don't have anything you have to do in the next day other than things to make yourself feel good. A cold shower, go buy some groceries, get some lemon, start having some lemon tea.
You're a cold shower proponent. I didn't know that.
I'm in it now. I'm in it like fucking swimwear. So
are you going to go the full route and get like the whole dunk tank, like the ice tank?
I don't know. I have a bathtub. I guess I could just fill that with ice if I really wanted.
Yeah.
But I just started doing it in Katowice because I was like, I'm such a bitch. Like, I am such a fucking bitch mentally.
I can actually imagine you waking up one day and having that conversation with yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, and I just went, stop being a fucking bitch. Like, how it's just a cold shower. It's just cold water. Why are you such a miserable bastard? You know, you used to do dog shit things back in the past. You've almost cut some fingers off. You know, you used to do plumbing where you just would do shit, and now you're a fucking bitch. So then I was like, you know what? I'm good. And I know that this doesn't make me any less of a bitch, but I've said bitch like 12 times. But
you didn't say cunt, so we can't get
That's true. That's true. Yeah, fuck YouTube. But where was I? It's a decision that I make at the start of every day that's uncomfortable. Because it's not comfortable having a cold shower. I like the effects of how I feel after it, but while I'm doing it, I'm standing there with fucking the coldest it can possibly go on the shower, water pouring down my head, my face, my shoulders, right? And having to breathe deeply and tell myself it's not cold for 2 minutes. And it's like, okay, I've chosen to do something not great here. And it makes me feel great.
Here's a hot take about that whole thing.
Cold showers. Hot take about cold showers.
Yes, I understand. I understand everything you've said, and that makes sense, and that's great. I'm happy for you. But I think you're being disrespectful.
To myself or to bitches?
You're being disrespectful to your ancestors who didn't have access to running hot water, even less. They didn't struggle for generations, your ancestors, so that now that you have all these things, you're going to make the decision to shower yourself with cold water and, torture your body. So,
but I do it twice. I do a normal shower, right? So I'll get in the shower. I like fucking scorches. I grew up in a household when you were little and you'd go and bother your mum and she was having a fucking shower, right? And well, when I would try and go and bother my mum, the whole place would just be full of steam. You couldn't see it. It was like you were inside a cloud in an airplane. You can't see shit, right? So I think I got my ability to withstand the hot water from her. And I love, as hot as the shower will go, I'm willing to scald that skin. Like, let's go wild, right? But that's how I start. I'll have my nice hot shower. I'll wash my hair. I'll do everything I got to do. And then for the last 60 seconds to 2 minutes, for as long as I can just stand there, I just turn it to cold. And then when I get out, I just feel awake. I feel like $1 million.
Do you feel like less of a bitch?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So then at that point, I feel like it's a good place to start the day.
It's supposed to be great for your immune system. Shocks it into function. Gives it a little immune system, exercise routine to start the day.
The way I do it is in the morning, before work, I do slightly colder. I like the constant water, falling on me. That feeling, kinda. So
The waterfall.
I imagine that you do it and then you put the water away a little bit, right? When it's really cold, it's not constantly going on you.
No. I'm standing under it.
All right. Well, that's even better for you. But in the evening, I do hotter, before bed, because that sort of gets me a little bit more sleepy. It helps me fall asleep faster.
I don't shower twice a day. I'm only a 1 shower a day type of guy.
Have you ever tried to take your showers at night?
I have. I used to do that when I was plumbing because in the morning,
come up all sweaty, and then you would wake up early, and you wouldn't want to. You'd want the extra 15 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, it was more valuable than having. And it's not like you work in customer service, so it doesn't matter. People aren't smelling you and shit, right? You have a shower before bed, and then you wake up and you go to work. Yeah, that's what I did then. But I don't know. I prefer the morning shower. I think it's a nicer way to start the day.
The morning shower wake up is a wonderful thing.
But not everyone does that. I guess that's something that I've forgotten about. That not everybody is a morning shower human.
No, that's why I was asking. There are some crazy people out there in the world whose general cleanliness shower takes place in the evening, and then they just don't shower until the next evening.
That's kind of wild.
It's weird, isn't it?
Because you sweat a lot when you sleep. Janko, you're a twice a day?
Yeah, I have to be most of the time, twice a day. Like I sweat a good amount, you know. So after, for example, in Katowice, it was twice a day minimum, 3 times a day sometimes because I would,
Oh, the humidity.
probably
Katowice. Yeah, okay.
yeah, probably 2 times. Like 3 was only when in the in between game I would so I would shower in the morning before work, go to work. But if I have the middle game off, I go back, go to the gym, so I shower again, then I go back to work, and then I
Then you
just
shower
quickly
again
shower
afterwards.
before bed to get the makeup off completely and just to have that nice feeling going into bed and falling asleep.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
So
but
how
I'm
many
not that
showers?
solid.
it's like just get in, get out. It's like I'm done in 3 minutes. You know, it's not.
I'm a 2 shower kind of guy, but I use my second shower as like a refresh, like wake myself up for like the next stage of the day, you know? It just is like
Shit,
a rejuvenating
okay.
environment.
Are we talking like a late afternoon, evening,
Yeah,
early
it
evening type
varies.
situation?
It varies sometimes, yeah, like right before I cook dinner, I'll just go take a quick
Alright.
shower and like wake up, you know?
So
Fuck, I know.
here's a dicey question.
About showers?
Yes. What
Alright.
was the longest, like, you know how you come back from a long event, maybe the start of the player break, and you just want to, like, chill and sleep and play games and not see other humans and not go outside. So what was the longest you've gone without taking a single shower?
in my
And you
life?
had access to it.
Jason's done some camping and stuff, right? So
I was
I'd
gonna
assume
say
that
mine
those
is
freeze.
technically like
No, but
probably
let's
like
no, but
2
that's
to
what I'm
3
saying.
weeks.
Like, let's say at home, you're at
So
home,
when we're
right?
being dirty degen
Yes,
humans,
Yes, yes.
I
being
don't know,
gamers.
maybe 3 days.
I was gonna say mine's probably about 2 to 3 days.
I think 3 days is probably like where I'm at too. Because after that point, I'm leaving the house as well, and it's just
Yeah,
too
that's
much.
that's got to be a hard limit if like you're in your own place too. That's just at a certain point, you know. But 3 days is, you know, there's some grindy stretches there.
Yeah, but let's just say that I know some guy, right? And this guy maybe is an observer, but we won't give away the guy's name, but I know him pretty well. Like, let's say that. And this guy, he fucking hates showers, right? He has them. He knows he has to have them, but he would gladly put off going down the road to the grocery store because he knows he has to have a shower to leave the house. So he just won't do it. He just fucking hates it. He thinks the
Is-
showers are just a waste of time.
Is he a bath kind of guy? This observer?
No, man.
No, he just in general.
Like, he'll have the shower, but he fucking despises the shower.
Right.
Like, it's like
Okay.
he's a cat or something. He's afraid of water. Actually, that would make sense for Rush, wouldn't it?
Oh, you just said his name.
Well, yeah.
Revealed the
Oops.
secret identity.
The illusion.
Yeah, that's odd. I've never really heard that. He reminds me of like it's like the Seinfeld episode of the Kramer where like he installs the
He is a bit Kramer-esque, isn't
the
he?
garbage disposal in the shower so he can make it more efficient
The garbage Oh, shit, yeah.
because
okay.
he prepares his meals in the shower.
I hope our audience has actually watched
Probably not many.
some Seinfeld. I reckon they have. I reckon a bunch of them have. I think we've got some listeners here who, you know, I got a funny email the other day. It was this was to my like SPUNJ email, right? The one that I put publicly if people want to email me shit. And where is he? The gentleman, I'll leave the, I don't know. I don't need to talk about the guy's email or whatever. If he's listening, he's listening. He just emailed me. I know this is kind of a stupid question, but my friend is constantly saying your name is SPUNJ, and the rest of us are saying sponge like it should be said. Can you clarify for him what the correct
Oh, it's a
pronunciation is?
question for the ages.
So I actually replied and I said, "Sup, bruh? It's Sponge. Sponge is what people call me when they want to troll." And he even bothered to follow back and said, "Thanks for the reply. You ended a long debate." So I'm really happy that I'm out here settling debates with simple emails. It
You're a
made me
man of the
feel good.
people. That's like
Don't-
that's a good way. That's a good thing to get under your belt at the start of a day to accomplish something.
Just send off one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Jason, because Janko and I don't know, and this is the thing, Janko, we're going to have to see what we remember talking about up until the 50-minute point, and I guess it doesn't matter, right? If we touch on it, we touch on it. But I know we definitely touched on the fact that we know Jason doesn't listen to the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that back up. Let's go into it.
But the reason I say that is, Jason, because during that time, I did a tweet and I asked people to submit some questions, right?
Okay.
Like if they had any questions for us. And there was actually a bunch of people. I reckon there was maybe 10 to 15 people who did it. And there was a guy on Twitter who was like, "Why the fuck email, bro? Like, why not just tweets?" And that's the reason. It's because I wanted, if people are going to take the effort to send the email.
It's an easy way to filter out the low effort individuals.
Yeah, right. So I appreciate everybody who did that. Maybe we can return to them, but I know we didn't talk about this specifically on the previous episode. But happy Valentine's Day, Janko. I think that little link of yours right there lets us all know that love is in the air, mate.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, guys. I just think the stuff from Reddit where Astralis with another banger on social media, deleted now, of course. Some jokes, I leave it to you guys to look it up yourselves.
That can't be real. This was actually from the official account.
It's also fucking devices on the picture, so you could have chosen someone else for this shit. It feels like, but that's just how disconnected they are about everything. It feels like pretty much. But
it all feels wild right now, doesn't it? Like we slept for 12 hours and you wake up and apparently Valda's benched on ENCE.
Which is good.
Chiron's out here saying he knew tier 1 wasn't as hard as people think. You've got what else has been going on here? Yeah, I don't, mate. There's a lot of stuff.
I didn't even see this ENCE thing. That's
oh yeah.
We just had that. I think we had that conversation. Was it the second half of yesterday that we now had to delete from history?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what we said exactly. I don't think we spent too long on ENCE, right? Like
no, but we talked about the whole Valda thing and some.
Jason
of the
was saying he thinks they're all shit. I remember that.
Oh sure, yep.
We'll set the record now straight, Jason.
There's no
Come
one
on.
there like with their firepower. Like Madden can't be a star, Diha can't be a star. So I need someone to.
No, it just feels like they had like 3 really strong role players and like no one who actually was the star. And I think this is like the second or third time in his career Valda's kind of been put in that star position, and I just don't think he is a star player. So I don't know. I don't know if this necessarily. I guess this kind of makes sense, but I feel like that was always doomed to fail if you thought Valda was going to come in and like show off. I think he's incredibly talented, and I really like his game, but I just don't think he's a star player. So it's just interesting to see that kind of pop up after yesterday.
So I wonder, but I like it does. Let me read the article. Does it say why he was benched?
It says
Because
differences in play style.
Oh, okay.
So they just think he's not good enough and they found a better player. I'll translate that for everyone back home.
What about
That's what
Valda
difference
to
in play
Astralis,
styles means.
Janko?
Nah, Valda nowhere. I mean,
Well,
I
we
don't
spoke about. I don't know if people heard us
Maybe
talking about
he-
Esatag and
Yeah, we did. Well,
Xiphon.
that's the thing. I don't even know where to put him anymore, man. Like I just don't know. I don't know if he can be. It doesn't look like he can be the star player in a team anymore. Can he be a role player, like a support? Maybe, I don't know. But you already have guys who can do that, who are better. I know yesterday we mentioned Astralis and like you just get Estag and Xiphon instead of Zipex and Buzz. That's
I think you could do Valda for S-Tag in there and still have a pretty decent upgrade.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Put in Valda in more of those type of anchor positions, right? I think with Esatag it seems a little bit more versatile because like the secondary AWPing capability there as well. But yeah, I don't know. Like obviously this is all like just conversation. These moves are probably never going to happen, but it's difficult. Well, yeah, but also because it's pretty difficult to see like Valda, for example, where he goes, and if you're ENCE, you're probably going to keep him on the bench. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't benefit. Maybe they would just let him go. I guess it's with these players. Do you think you can sell them? That's the question. If there's no demand for the player, then isn't it just better to let them go? I don't know.
And also now we know what the personal reasons were for Nerds and not playing for Endpoint in the.
Is that confirmed?
Oh, that's right.
I mean, I imagine there's probably some rule about him not being allowed to play. Whatever later on or something, or maybe he already started practicing with ENCE. Who knows, right? Something along those lines. But in any case, like this shows ENCE and their willingness to make moves, right? Like it's only one tournament in the season, didn't go their way, and the major, is close. Like all the qualifying and all that stuff is happening soon. They have Pro League ahead of them as well, so I think they understand. They felt the situation was grave enough to make the change before the major cycle ends. And also, I think I was surprised Nerds didn't get picked up after his Pro League showing, like by someone. I'm not even sure who could have potentially gotten him, but he showed some really good stuff during Pro League. So I think that's another nice sort of pickup from ENCE, right? A good move. And also they lost Pinks to Vitality, get another Israeli player. It seems like they're all sick all of a sudden. They got Spinks, Zershan, Nerds, right? Like there's already a lot of names there playing.
Yeah, I think Anika's was alright for a period of time there on the AWP as well. So yeah, there's a bunch of names, and he's only 23 as well. So quite good at that age that a lot of these players are looking for. Do you see the comments from Blade? Those comments about Blade, like regarding SDY, about they would never have picked up a player like over 25.
Yeah,
and that's interesting because I guess I don't know. It's because we've been seeing Electronic and Simple for fucking ever now. It's like, oh yeah, like they've been doing this for a while. They have, but Electronic's only 24, right? And what's Simple? Simple's only 25, right? And Simple's only 25.
Electronic's only 24,
right? Yeah.
What the?
So people kind of forget like the age of the team, because then you consider how young Bit is. He's only like, I don't know what, 18 or 19.
Only 1 year older than Perfecto. That's crazy.
Yeah, but Bit's 20 now, so the team is young. So I get it. I understand that. And if they wanted to bring in a young player so that he can scale up and be good in a couple, well, he'd have to be good soon. But I guess they're assuming he's going to have a longer shelf life because of that age, right? That seems like some of what they're thinking of there. But it was just interesting to hear that was a comment that was made, like,
especially because that conversation on age in esports is always like kind of hovering there once you start getting to a certain point. And we've seen a number of players like come out and publicly say they want to prove that they can still compete into their 30s, which hasn't come to fruition. But I feel like this is one of the first times we've kind of heard anyone from an organization ever like officially come out and say, yep, age is a consideration,
But we're only talking mid-20s.
I know,
right?
That's what's crazy about it, is it seems like it'd be a low age. But
yeah, like Nico's 25, right? JKS is 27. I think Hunter's 27. I think hooxi's 27. So, like it's really interesting how you start to look at and frame these conversations. And I don't run NaVi. I'm not over there fucking inside. I got no idea what's going on. But so you think it makes sense?
I think it makes sense because usually it's a couple of things. Players over 25 who are still good, those are your blue chip players. Like that's Nico, right? That is Simple. Like those guys, because that means in most cases, that means they have the experience, they're proven, they're still really good. You know a lot about them, right? Or they're in-game leaders. So those players are going to be extremely expensive, probably hard to get in the first place. So from that standpoint, it's like hard to get someone who's really good, who's 25 or older. That's just not the case. They already have two players who are, Simple and Electronic, who are core veterans, right? So they don't need any more old guys, really, in a sense, right? So you're always looking for that young blood, because also something that was also mentioned in that chat we had with the G2 Vitality mental coaches was that these younger players, like they're coming in with the not expectation, but realization that, things have to be done a certain way. They need to be disciplined. They need to listen to the, coach, the people around the team, right? They're already sort of trained to expect that, and they understand it. So they're easier to teach, right? And just coach in that sense. And obviously the mechanics with every generation, they're getting better and better, because things that older players had to learn on the fly, that's already there for them to see and sort of, build on that.
Yeah. I can get a lot of these different points here. For me, I look at NaVi and I'm curious. Like they still made, I don't know if we already spoke about it or not. And we're going to do this a lot for this next chunk here. But the thing with the team is, and I know that this is when I think we started to talk about the simple stuff. But before we dig too much into the simple stuff, I guess, the team in general, right? Like where they're still at, they still made it to the semifinal of a large scale event to start the year, with this guy going from playing 2 maps, Mirage and Inferno, to now having to come in and play all of them as a 17-year-old who's never played tier 1 CS before, and he's in some rotating positions on certain maps like Inferno. Like I think about it and I go, well, fucking hell, like that's a lot for somebody to have to learn quite quickly here. And I don't know if I've seen enough moments to go, is this guy going to be anything more than just like a solid player? Like having a solid player when you have Simple, Electronic, Bit, of course, Perfecto. Like, that's kind of what you're looking for, but maybe Blade sees more. Maybe he's expecting him to be more than just like a solid player. Maybe he's got some ability that they know of that we haven't been able to see on the big stage yet. And then I look at how long it's probably going to take for this ramp up of this kid for things to start working. I don't know. I feel like the first 6 months of this year. But if Navi still make it to playoffs or still keep like knocking on the door of playoffs, I feel that's pretty good for them at the moment.
I think
or am I wrong?
No, I think this is the problem, Chad. It depends on who you're talking to, right? And who's giving you the opinion. If you're a guy from the organization, or probably even if you're Blade, you're looking at it and you're like, that's okay for now, because of the reasons that you just pointed out. And also, if someone deserves some leeway when it comes to picking talent and developing talent, I think that's Blade. He's proven to be, to make good calls when it comes to that, time and time again. But I'm sure if are looking, if you're simple, like, you understand how difficult it is, and you know what championship level Counter-Strike is, because you've played it and you played against it and you've been around it, and you can't bullshit your way around that. And he knows that they're not playing on that level right now, and his opinion, from reading, not even in between the lines, but just the lines that he's been sharing, is that they're not really close to that level at the moment. So depending on your perspective as well and expectations, is like, yeah, they're making top fours. That's okay with a new player. It's probably, we could argue even it's an overachievement and stuff. But for someone like Simple, when you talk to him, it's going to be like, yeah, I mean, I don't care. He doesn't care about making top four. He wants to win tournaments, right? And for that standard, he feels like they're playing like shit. So I guess the truth is probably some middle ground.
Yeah, well, I guess I get the expectation, but yeah, I don't know.
I think
things take time.
I think the other part of it, I think the thing that holds me back from like thinking positively on those kind of like Navi knocking on the playoff door is just like, it feels like when we've now ended Katowice, and Simple's come out and said some players shit their pants, some players were too scared. Closed down with Bit in the final or in that game, and it was hard to play with him. He's now criticized Blade as well. So, like, I'm not going to pin it all on Simple, but when you all of a sudden have what seems like 3 or 4 different facets of the team being internally criticized and targeted, like those like knocking on the playoff doors don't feel as good from the outside. Now that probably doesn't matter to the team. Well, maybe it does, but to the team and the players themselves, it's mostly for us and to chew on from the outside. But it doesn't feel very confidence inspiring in a kind of a run like that when it feels like everything coming from the team is so disorganized and kind of scattered in that way.
Yeah, I can see that. But the thing is, with the comments, and I know that I brought up the ones to do with the interview regarding like Mirage positions, right? And it spoke about MPL playing connector, and it had Bit anchoring B, Electronic anchoring A, and Perfecto playing short. And I was like, man, like I can get like why someone would be like, what the fuck? Like for me, initially, Electronic goes short, Bit goes connector, Simple's still going to be the window/everywhere player. MPL as the newest player can learn how to anchor B, right? If he's good mechanically, right, which I guess he must. That's what they're hoping for. He has to be at least decent with the mouse shooting the heads. Well, then the protocols of being a B defender and what to do in certain scenarios is pretty straightforward, right? It's just how many kills you can get off of these different variations. I'm jump spotting. I drop the defensive smoke next to the van. They come out. I pick one of a couple of different angles and hope to get a multi-kill. And then you just have different safe variations of that. And very rarely are you going for aggressive maneuvers? More often than not, maybe he boosts Simple, right? So you got him over there anchoring B and Perfecto. I think they're anchors now, good anchors on Mirage are playing the A side, not the B side, right? Like you have to worry about all these different positions that players could slip, like connector smoke, which shouldn't be your responsibility, but sometimes as the A player, it does become your responsibility. You got to worry about the timings for Palace and A ramp. You got to play all these different off angles and shit, defensive smokes. So I think their setup at the moment, I understand why that could be questioned. Sure, do I think that those type of comments are probably going to positively impact the team? Well, that's when I start to think probably not. But yeah, it's an interesting situation to find yourself in, I would say.
Definitely
a unique one.
Definitely not, but also the very end, the thing about Blade, it's like, come on, Simple, like Blade didn't deserve that shit. Wait, what is this? Is this... Okay, this
What are
is.
we looking
I need
at?
to close my window. No, I hear something, so I wonder it was your background noise or mine.
He's
No,
he's so paranoid
Yeah,
about tech issues
Chad
now.
is now like, no, it's all right. What I was gonna say, like, Blade didn't deserve that. I don't think Simple Navi is as successful as they are without Blade, or that Simple lifts a major trophy finally when he does if it weren't for Blade. So to kind of lay that on him, that I think that's just unnecessary. And it matters, like how you talk about your team and your teammates matters. I mean, Simple is the GOAT, right? Like those kids, some of them probably grown up watching him play, and their dream was to be on a team with him. So I understand that it's also, for him, he's in a rough spot, right? I don't think he's enjoying the game as much as he did before, which is understandable because all the, everything that's going on in his life. And, I don't know. It's weird. He's lost some of his edge. It also shows that probably because, he's not playing as much CS, it feels like. Of course, a player will fall off when the team is, struggling because there's more uncertainties in the round and your team play isn't on the same level. But this is just, some of the stuff is just, mechanics, Chad. I don't know if you sort of noticed the same thing, but I feel that potentially even for Simple, just taking some time off, man. Maybe if it's like a month or two, I don't know if it should be, pro league or wait until the major is over and do something, right? But somehow to try to, put yourself in a better place somehow and make it more enjoyable to play. I don't know. It's just such a difficult topic to talk about. How do you balance out the human part of it and then also the competitive aspect that you have? It's like really, really difficult to talk about.
Yeah, it's a hard one, right? I think the thing as well, like you mentioned the major there. The major's really just around the corner, right? It's in May. Like we're already mid-February.
Yeah.
It's gonna come so quick. So yeah, I guess there's like a lot of different ways that this could go down, but in terms of which one they opt to go for, they don't have head trick now, right? From the academy team, obviously they don't have Monacy anymore. So like for NaVi, if Simple does take time now, that would actually be a very big deal to the success of the team in the first 6 months of this. But hey, it's one of these.
It's also the reason
scenarios.
why we have so much respect for like the coaches and kind of like the mental coaches or the mental coaches as well, because these are the problems that they have to solve. Like we just have to comment on them, but when you're actually in there trying to solve those problems within the team, it's craziness.
Yes, but yeah, like once you're in the thick of it, it also does seem a little bit more helpless, right?
Yeah.
In these types of scenarios, because I think that, and that's why I guess it's really nice with all these teams having so many different support networks and stuff, because someone will be able to stand back and see the forest for the trees. But I remember when I was in like Renegades and stuff and things were going badly, I'm trying to scramble and solve these problems on my own and work out. And I was having a hard time, like having people that this is the thing. I didn't establish a team atmosphere like you would need, like what a Heroic or what a G2 has right now, where people are happy to, talk to each other the way they need to be talked to, right? It doesn't just mean being cruel or, just like honest. I think, what was Alex say? Honesty without tact is cruelty. I think that was one of his recent little things he was saying. And you got to make sure that you have curated a safe environment where everybody knows that the goal is the same and that you're not trying to attack the other person. You're trying to get to the same endpoint. And by doing that, as humans, we all have to make ourselves like vulnerable, right? We have to be willing to take feedback, which isn't always going to be nice to hear, and be able to know that it's coming from a place that isn't meant to be, hurting us and making us feel worse. It's coming from a place of like constructive criticism. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's a fucking weird time.
It is. It's a very weird time.
Weird time. I heard you say lactating just before, Jason. That's how fucking weird it is, man.
Dude, imagine the conversations I'm having these days. There's some, there's some shit I never thought I'd get into, but here we are.
Literally.
Literally.
But set us up for that one, mate.
Nailed it.
Set us up. Yeah.
Bump set
I know.
spike.
I know. I remember, Janko, you had something that you were quite passionate about with the FaZe conversation.
How to make FaZe again? How to make FaZe great again?
Yeah, like you had a slogan. I think you were wearing a red hat.
Well, it's the FaZe's colors. It's undeniable.
There was you grew out your hair a little bit. And
Yeah,
Jason and I, we were on tenterhooks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard me just opening a keystone, but yeah. So here's how we make FaZe great again, guys. Is we get, if he's willing to do it, just to ease his way into it, sort of, we get Olaf Meister to sign on as a sort of an assistant coach, analyst, however you like to call it, whatever the name of the actual title is. And you get him. He doesn't even have to be there, for every single practice, or if that's too much, that's him being too involved for his own liking. But basically to help a little bit with the tactical side of things, because when I was coaching FaZe and Olaf was there, first of all, he's an amazing player and like an incredibly smart guy, inside and outside of the game. And on every map, more or less, he would come up with a strat. Just something like he's playing, and after a practice or something, he would be like, I have an idea like for a round that we could do. And these rounds have been some of our most successful rounds, right? Like that we wouldn't even run, if we're winning a lot or only in like key rounds, we would call this if the situation is right, and they worked more often than not. So also like Olaf is just a great guy to be around. He knows all of the players from the team. He's played with them. So I think that's like the minor change, the small addition that you can make, that's going to, maybe boost everyone a little bit, help with some specific things when it comes to the actual game, but also just switch things up a little bit, because it feels like they could benefit from that. They're losing games in a strange way, in a weird way. It's not like, someone is really failing individually. It's not that like their style is outdated or that they're behind the meta. It's just a little bit unlucky, missing like 5 extra percent, maybe 10 extra percent at most to be at that championship level. And I feel like this might be something that adds them those 5%.
It's definitely an out of the box position here, right? It's an interesting one. Like mine just immediately goes, what does the human being want to do? Because I see him streaming and playing in the major qualifiers today, right? For example. But that's the question. I don't think Olaf's like completely made up his mind of what he wants to do as a professional. So that's where I go straight away. And then I remember I asked you if you thought that he could still, play in a team today. And I think that's like probably a question that he's trying to find the answer to right now as well. So I don't know if it's something that he wanted to get involved in, then yeah, like I think having someone as experienced as him, and if you have first-hand experience with him as a player, so I would definitely take your word for his qualities that he could bring to a team. So it's definitely an interesting thought. And you guys want to hear something more interesting?
Yeah.
Honara's just about to beat Sinners to qualify for the closed
for Brazil
RMR qualifier. No, for the major.
For the major.
Yeah, the closed qualifier just to get you to the RMR.
Damn.
So, still one more step.
E-Nation, my former team, just beat Sangal to make it into the closed qualifier, so that was cool.
Oh, yeah. They're in the mix as well. Yeah, a couple of teams getting across the line right there.
Back on the server fragging.
Good on Taz. I like that.
I think they almost qualified the other day for Brazil as well.
Yeah, they did. They came really close. I think they got eliminated right at the end.
They lost to 9 in the upper bracket, and then in the lower bracket they lost to Big.
Rough.
That sucks, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we spoke about Sirison. Sorry, Jason, I cut you off before. Where were you going with the Olaf situation?
Oh, I just think it's like a nice way to like make a change without doing anything drastic, right? Like it's a nice way to bring something fresh into it without like panicking on a roster change, without trying to change too much of like a play style and make too big of an adaptation that might backfire. So I think you can argue whether you think it would be super successful or not, but I think it's a really like cool middle ground idea for FaZe to try and tweak something without going crazy.
And I think that's where, and then I remember, and this is where I don't know if it was before or after, but I was talking about the fact I think there's like a handful of teams who are playing like what seems to be the style at the moment, which is what G2, Heroic, and I think FaZe also play this way, like just constantly moving, being consistently proactive, reacting to all the information you have. There's always something going on. There's always a flash set up. There's a crossfire, right? You're jiggling, you're baiting for information. I know I was talking about the high level ways that G2 were doing that. Anyway, I'm not going to fucking keep referring to shit. I don't remember what I said. But I think that like FaZe are still right there. They're still right there. I don't think, they should. Well, there's definitely going to be cause for concern. I think one of the mental things we were talking about was the Carrigan situation now and how his teams are really good. for like these short bursts.
Yeah, I
and
was going to
his team
ask.
is really good.
We might as well, if we wanted to dive into that, because I know we talked about, you touched on a little bit, Chad, yesterday, the classic Kerrigan honeymoon, and have we hit it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I don't think we have, because I don't, like, Kerrigan's obviously putting a lot of time in individually, right? You're seeing some of the games. He's winning these 50-50 fights. He's looking confident. I just think that there's, like, rounds that they should win that they're not closing out here. And maybe they're a bit, I don't know, stale, or they're doing things too individually in certain situations, which could be coming back to haunt them a little bit, right? But I think they're still right there. And the Intel Grand Slam, they've got 3 more cracks at this. If you can't lose focus now, you're almost there, and you wipe clean everybody else's progress. So it'd be one way to give everyone else a bit of a finger.
You become the first team to get to the edge and not actually be able to win it. We haven't had a team get to like 3 wins and actually fail to close it out.
Yes, we have.
Have we?
Didn't have with FaZe before.
No. Oh shit, that's right. Okay.
Well, be the same team. Be the same team.
Oh,
the first team to do it
both
twice.
times with Kerrigan, so I'm local. But talking about
But
Olaf, he's
backs up
playing
the point
right
of it,
now
right?
with Lacro, Getright,
Forest.
Freiburg, and Forest. And they're playing against Godsend, which is like ZTR, Draken, Rusty Joel, and Popsky. So they're playing, like, whoever wins goes to the close qualifier. I think that's where they're at right now in the bracket for both teams. So that's interesting. Sweet.
Oh, are they still going? I didn't realize that started.
No, I think this is a practice game. It says on Forest stream, practicing versus Godsent before RMR.
I thought that they had to win that previous matchup in the bracket to have that game, but they lost, and now they're playing in the other qualifier.
Okay. Well, maybe then I just fucked.
Because they made it.
They're playing each other, so
they made it through to the round of 64, right? Or was it 32? Well, they made it to play today, but they lost to this team called Viperino. And I think if they had won that game, which is a best to 1 against Viperino, and Godsend had won their game, which was against a team called Forward,
okay,
with
you're
Mo.
right. Now I see it. They lost 16-12 today on Nuke. Okay.
Yeah, but there was a chance where they could have been playing each other in a best of 3 for that
So
spot.
they're just playing in practice. Okay.
Which is interesting that Godsend are practicing essentially a pug team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess,
but I bet it's like the
hard to
least
find
puggy
practice.
feel to a pug team. I bet they still Freiburg and Getright and Forest and Olaf all play proper, for the most part proper.
They definitely still play a lot, but like how at high level on the meta decisions as a team and stuff, I'm sure they're not sitting there doing fucking theory and stuff together. So when we're talking about the jump up of Counter-Strike and the type of Counter-Strike a team like Godsend, I'm sure are hoping to play. You
got to start somewhere.
Who's running? Maybe they're just keeping themselves warm right now. Maybe they're just getting the reps. They're just out there. Yeah, they're out there on the fucking court, just knocking the puck around. That's an ice hockey reference. I love getting sports I don't know references in.
Out on the court, knocking the puck around. That was beautiful.
Yeah, man.
That was great.
The knuckle puck. Everyone's favorite,
Flying
Mighty Ducks. Yeah, it was a great time. It was the best of times. The Mighty Ducks has got to be fucking 30 years old at this point.
Just
When
wait
the
till
fuck
like
did
they
Mighty Ducks
redo
come
the
out?
Mighty Ducks with like a esports gaming. I'm waiting for those.
We
movies
could
to
do
come
it.
out. Yeah.
We could definitely do it. The Mighty Ducks came out in 1992, so yeah, 30 years of age.
Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, drunken lawyer. The Rotten Tomatoes has only 21%. Fuck you, Rotten Tomatoes.
Chad takes this personally. He's very invested in the
One of my favorite movies of all
Mighty
time,
Ducks
man.
franchise.
It's a fantastic movie.
It's a great feel-good movie for fucking kids, man.
I
You getting amped, you getting jacked.
I remember we mentioned the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl movies
Oh.
as well.
Oh,
like the
that's why I
trailers and
wanted
stuff.
to keep the first 50 minutes because of all the Super Bowl chat. Like that is the reason that I was so forceful on wanting to keep those first 50.
And
there's
you had
so much convo.
Atlantis. You had Atlantis in there as well.
Oh,
You had,
Atlantis was in there.
The
Yeah.
Desert Rings, yeah.
Rihanna was in there.
Oh,
You happy
really?
about that?
Oh,
Oh,
aren't you,
I was so
Jason?
happy
Jason.
after that podcast came out. I saw the article that was.
It didn't come out, but yeah.
Well, yeah,
It'll be
but
out
after,
soon.
After
Don't
that
you
first
worry.
half, yeah, I saw the article last night and I was like, booyah! So other people noticed it too, because there were just like sections of it where she wasn't even actually moving her lips, but the song was still playing. So it was just kind of like, so we've just given up trying to do the lip sync thing. But yeah, I felt very validated.
You've been seen.
I've been seen, I've been heard, and that's all you can ask for in today's society.
I'm glad that you've been seen and heard, Jason. Because I know the people missed you. We missed having you around. It was weird not having you to turn to in our times of need.
It was a little weird. being here as well.
I think we're a little bit jealous as well. You know.
Yeah, that we don't have children.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all.
The diaper changing?
No, it was just that, because you used to be our daddy. You were taking care of us.
Oh, yeah.
Now someone's taking our spot. Now we have to take care of ourselves and, God forbid, take care of other people instead of you.
I'm really proud of you guys, too. Nobody got arrested. No reports of fights breaking out.
No reports.
Good, fair play.
No, everything was good. There was good vibes. There was good vibes throughout. I had a great time. I think there's a tonal shift in 2023.
We're starting to put together some really cool talent teams that start to feel like the old school way of everyone just having a good time and being friends and being chummy.
Yeah,
we're piecing
that's
it
key.
together. I was a bit disappointed Dinko wasn't there. Like, I have fun with Dinko. He's a smart young
cool
kid.
dude.
The walking encyclopedia.
Yeah, he's a hard worker too. He tries, puts a lot of effort into his craft and to get better. And for a young kid, I feel like maybe should have been there even, but I just work there. I don't make those decisions. So
it's like that guy who asked about the
he'll do
awards,
some other
Janko.
stuff. What?
That guy that tweeted about us asking about the awards. Why was it done when there was no one in the audience? And you just replied, "But I just work here, man."
Yeah, it's like, that's not my decision. I also saw yesterday. I didn't saw this, and it actually had a lot of views, on YouTube, where I was super disrespectful towards Twists doing that thing because I just walked away at some point where I was told to do that. I was told very little about that to begin with. I didn't.
Let's just say it was poorly handled.
I didn't have any equipment to, I barely got an in-ear in, and I was told they're going to. You'll hear production when your mic is open, so you start speaking. So I'm walking down on the stage, and I don't hear anything in my ear, and I'm like, I walked a fair amount. I should probably start talking now. So I have to do to hear if I'm going out in the arena or not. So I do that. I give my line about Team of the Year. They were told, ask him just 2 questions, right? And after that, the pyro's going to go off and you just walk away. I was like, just walk away? He's like, yeah, just walk away. They'll switch to the desk or something. I was like, all right. Bear in mind, this is something I've never done before. I never did nothing on stage. Pretty much a couple of interviews after games or some casting, but, never
It's
something
different.
like that.
It's definitely different.
And of course, I'm presenting the last award, and the break is 1 minute in between. I have to get back to the desk, basically run back to the desk to do the segment, and that's why I was so sweaty during that segment. Of course, no one thought about bringing the makeup artist up to at least give me the tissue or do anything. I'm just sweating profusely on the stream. Because I had to run up and down. Then, of course, I have a pre-recorded telestrator, not a pre-recorded, but a telestrator segment that Rush made a clip for me. So I had to then do all the faffing around with the fucking headsets on one desk, then the headsets on the other desk, and then crouch, and then there's somewhere, and I don't know. So it's I had to do 100 things. And I'm like, okay, we have 7 sideline people. I mean, I like doing new things, but when I have work to do and stuff, at least put me on the first award. So I have more than 2 minutes to get to my position.
Well, mine was meant to be the last one, right? Which I also said I didn't want to do. But hey, I got messaged the night before about doing it after midnight of hey, can you do this? And I said, hey, I don't really feel comfortable giving out this award. Is there, somebody else that you could find? If you can't literally find another human being who would be better equipped than myself, like OJ Borge, to give out an award, then I will do it.
Shogs
and
did
OJ,
one, you did
OJ
one,
would have
I
done
did
it.
one, and who was the 4th person?
That was it. It was only 3.
Only 3?
Yeah. But obviously mine was for simple, and this was how it wasn't thought out very well either. It's well, and some people maybe oh yeah, well he should have come out and accepted his award. If I was simple, I'm not coming out to accept the award after I just got knocked out of a tournament.
Yeah, not at all.
And people go, oh no, oh no, he should. Why? We obviously know he's a vicious competitor.
Also,
so you imagine how badly he wants to win. Imagine how badly he hates to lose.
And also, didn't he famously throw a second place medal or something like that away after he was at a certain event? He was on stage and he threw it out to the crowd or something like that.
I think he's definitely given one away.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there seemed to be a lot of that going around. This just reminded me, what happened with Harry doing like a DHL segment between maps? The DHL dropped pick the best sign, and then he had to like run back to the casting desk and miss the pistol round because they were like, "Oh yeah, you have to get out of here."
I think that was because he did the bit for the. I mean, you should probably, Chad, you know more about this than I
do. A logistical failure. Okay. Not a logistical failure, just a planning failure.
Yeah.
A nonsensical situation that should never have arisen.
Yeah, I was just so curious about that when they were like, "Oh yeah, you should probably get going. You got to hustle back." And I was like, "This is."
Yeah, that was done. That was done facetiously. Anyway, those were some of the things that were a bit more poorly handled. I would say.
Yeah.
Out of a lot of it, and digging into it, quite truly, it's just badly handled. That's it. That's the truth of the matter. Not thought out. That's the cold hard fact of the matter. Like,
shit happens when you party naked.
As far as I understand, I'm sure someone might have a very good reason / excuse of to why they were the cases. But realistically, if you just think about something as simple as that, it should never find itself unfolding in that fashion. But Harry shrugged it off. He
handled it well.
He always does a good job, old Harry. So, he did what he had to do. I remember I had a DreamHack winter one year where Lauren, she was meant to be commentating, but she got sick. So I said,
the death segment and ran to the booth.
Yeah, and we turned it into like a bit of a bit on air that Trace would like time how long it would take me to run from the fucking analyst desk to the caster booth, which was outside where all the seats were for the people to watch the DreamHack open, and I'd run it out there and then start casting. I did the double shift. Then this was back in the day before anybody would offer or I would be smart enough to ask for more money, and just did it for a regular day rate and did all the desk and all the casting out of the kindness of my own heart.
Well, there was that Sydney final in 2017 or 2018 where I had to step in and observe and then run to the desk to do analysis.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was 2017. It was the SK FaZe grand final.
Yeah, that's right.
That was crazy.
Damn. Come a long way since then. Holy shit.
Over the years.
We've all got I think all of us, us old school guys have crazy story like that from the good old days of weird productions. It's gotten,
the good old days.
Sometimes you forget how far it's come in like 5-6 years, but there was some craziness in the early days.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I just came into the talent world when sharing rooms wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
right?
that was
I
was rough.
That.
I think we only had to do that for about a year before that got changed. That got changed in like mid 2016.
One of the best changes, and one of the changes I didn't have to experience.
Yeah.
What else is happening here? Because some stuff did happen overnight, right? And these qualifiers are still going on. I think we spoke like a bit more in depth about G2, but we'll get plenty of time to talk about G2.
Yeah.
I'm kind of pumped to have you boys here, and we can do the podcast from here. And I have the mixer, so there's a fourth mic available as well. If we can just whack it on the couch, I can set up the webcam, and we can do a podcast with, maybe we get a player, right, who's doing that week of Pro League or whatever. We can just do it here.
I'm fucking calling him out right now. Nico is coming on for week 1 because he owes us one. He was supposed to come on before the playoffs, but whatever, in Katowice, but something, I don't know what happened. They added some more media obligations on him, so he had to postpone.
This is one thing I will make a note of, Janko, and I will post this as a clip on the account. What minute is this? 51 minutes, right? I'll post this. This is something that the people might get excited about. So anyway, keep it going.
Yeah, so I think that's what the plan is at the very least. So, no, that sounds like I'm backpedaling. No, he's gonna be there. I'll make sure of it. We might have to adjust to his timetable, right? But that's fine. We're willing to do that. Chad might have to stay up past midnight, but he'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Who do we want for Group B?
Oh, you want to just like say people's names and hope they appear?
Well, I mean, like we should, to target, to like message and say, hey, man, day 1 of Group B, like, come on down for the podcast.
Okay, I see what you're saying here.
Yeah.
We could get Katie in.
We can get that's a good one, or we can get a player. We both called Jason in Fallen.
Yeah, we could get Fallen.
Just
He's
make
always
the most
a good
watched
chat.
episode.
Yeah, right. Get that Brazilian fan base going. We could get. I mean, anyone from Complexity would be easy, like Grim or Hulzerk or something. Could be good.
Grim is fun to talk to. Like every interview, he's very genuine, I guess, is the word to use. Group C.
We got some options. Tabson?
Carrigan?
You could bring Tabson in.
Yeah, but yeah. All I would sit there and go, Tabson, man, come on, man.
What are you
We
doing,
would just
man?
poke him with a stick and say, hey,
Come on, Tabson,
time
man.
to leave.
Like, let's go to this team, man. You're so good. Man.
Or how about that
What-
team? You're so good. Or maybe this
Car-
team. You're so
We get Carrigan or Twists. We could
Yeah.
get Mr. Van Dolken.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good names in there.
I won't be there for those ones.
Oh, okay. Well, but we can
we'll
still
get
get
to
it.
I don't care. You
We'll
guys
get
talk
to
whoever
it.
you want. Yeah.
We'll replace you.
Yes, Jason, we're very well aware that if you're not on the episode, you don't care. You know, that's all right.
And that's fine, Jason, all right?
Our
That's
Group D will
okay.
get a leash. He'll spill
That's-
the beans on you.
Yeah. do
Yeah,
it.
we'll talk a bit of shit about you. No, I'm looking forward to that. Doing them in person is always fun. And maybe, I'm not saying we will, but like let's say there's the option that we could do more than one a week if we're feeling good. Because there's so many people who are going to be around, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to be able to take advantage of that. I live about 15 minutes up the road, so it's not like it's far away. I went out today.
We could also maybe do like shorter ones where if like we just do it at the hotel and just grab a player and just do like a short 1 hour.
Yeah,
like,
let me just move my entire setup just down to the hotel just to do it for the convenience of everybody else. Yeah.
Well, if
cool.
we're
I'm
just
only-
gonna do like a-
only 15. I'm only 15
what
minutes
setup?
up the road.
What setup do you have to move? We travel around the world with this setup.
Yeah, but I could literally leave it on my coffee table and it could just be there the entire 5 weeks and it
Alright.
wouldn't have to move. Everything's set up.
All right,
Jason, you
fine. It's
dick.
just an idea.
Yeah, but you're not the one carrying the fucking setup, Jason.
Yeah, but how often are we going to be able to schlep everyone out to your place? Like really?
It's an Uber ride. I'll pay for it. Come on, man. I'm home. Let me be in my
You
home.
fucking triggered him, Jason. I didn't think it was possible for us to legit trigger chat. I thought only players could do that, whining. But
It's
you
a
actually
nice
done it.
place, man.
You got him 80% of the way there, Janko. I just tipped him over the edge.
What did I do? I didn't do shit. I was willing to go to his place.
You fucked up the audio yesterday.
Yeah, but that's
Okay,
okay.
that's fair.
I think what we're doing right now is fucking awesome. We're gonna have half of yesterday where we were wrecked, right? Like I don't know where I was. I had like 4 hours sleep. Then I had a little bit of sleep on the plane. I slept in the shuttle next to Crim6, the fucking Call of Duty
Oh,
fucking legend.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah, have a chat with him.
where-
He just retired, I think, didn't he?
I don't know, did he?
Pretty sure.
He was there doing some racing stuff, I heard. But, you know, everyone was pretty tired in the morning shuttles. Then I got home, and then I had fucking all those things that I had to do that I didn't fucking do. So, you know, it was just it's one of those days, man. But I did have Wagamamas. I had a chicken katsu curry. You can't fuck with that.
Oh, they have that in Malta?
Yeah. It's down close to where you'll be. But when you come to Malta, there's like some really easy stuff. And then maybe some players will listen to this. Like to get around, you can use Uber, but you can also use one called Bolt, which I guess some people have that, but that's one of the main ones here. And then for food, you can use Bolt for food, or you can use Wolt. I think you can use Uber Eats. Like there's heaps of delivery food stuff. It kind of all got opened up during the pandy because, it was the delivery food boom in the pandemic for Malta.
They did wonders for food deliveries everywhere,
It's like,
which is very nice. Thank you for that happening.
you know, getting all the groceries delivered. You can show you boys where the good supermarkets are, so you don't have to just, you know, eat bullshit every day. I'm cold plunging. I know we spoke about cold showers just before, but I'm gonna jump in the sea. And any of you are welcome to join me for the cold dip into the frigid sea at the moment.
Oh, Jason, you know how yesterday at the end you asked me when we were leaving you to solo carry the podcast.
Yeah.
And when it was you and me and Chad left, you asked a funny story from Katowice.
Yeah.
Well, I remembered one. I don't know how funny it is, but so rehearsal day, right? After groups, before playoffs, you know how great those are. And so there's so many of us that we need 2 shuttles to go. And Chad, of course, being the early bird that he is, he's down. He's already sending people out on the first shuttle 5 minutes before we need to be down for the shuttle. So it's just me there, him, James Banks. Peace was supposed to come, and he thought Pala too, but Pala was already there. And we see Peacemaker come down, and he's leaving like laundry. It's like, oh, all right, like we'll wait for him to leave the laundry. And then for whatever reason, he goes back up, again. And I'm like, and Chad is like, I'm not that mad for having to wait, but I'm mad that Chad is like in there, like he's the talent manager, like organizing everything and waiting for people and talking to this. I'm like, Chad, just talent, man. Just get into the shuttle. You're here on time. People have 5 minutes. If not, we're leaving. And then they can, find their own way. it's not my fault that they're late, right? So that's like tilting me a little bit, and I'm going in there like tired of trying to convince him. I go into the shuttle, and James Banks comes in after like 10 seconds, and he's just holding a cucumber in his hand and just eating it straight out of his hand.
What?
That's true. He was just eating a whole cucumber.
eating a whole
It was
cucumber.
impressive, man.
Like
It
a
was
banana?
really impressive.
Yes, but without peeling it. You're just like,
Yeah.
you know, the cucumber. And then I see Chad coming in, and he's like, let's wait 2 more minutes. And I'm in the back with James Banks eating a cucumber, and I'm like, where's the camera? This has to be content. This has to be a hidden camera. I'm being trolled right now. Like, Chad's trying to tilt me. This guy's coming in with a whole cucumber, just biting on it, like eating a whole cucumber on a ride to the arena. I'm like, this is what's going on here. And he told me he actually eats 3 of them or 4 of them a day for his macros. I have no idea what that means, but I guess it's some gym nutrition stuff. So
Yeah.
Look, I was just trying to be. I was
Cool.
just trying to be that guy, man. I was just trying to be that guy. You know, someone's gonna be that guy, and I was trying to be that guy.
and someone has to be that guy, me as well, and be like, hey, there's a reason we have call times and times. It's like, why are you not on time? That's your that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. So
I like the cucumber part. I don't even care about the shuttle. So I'm very curious about this cucumber now, because those are supposed to be like empty calories, aren't they? Like cucumber is supposed to be one of those foods that like celery, like you eat it and you burn all the calories it gives you. So I can't even imagine.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You're
I
normally
know.
eating a whole cucumber a day, Jason.
I'm not much of a cucumber guy. I'm not going to lie to you. That's part
I
of
don't like the texture of the cucumber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. I might have to message James today.
Ask him about the cucumbers.
James, I hear you were just munching on a cucumber. Talk to me, buddy.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. When I go to these events, I lose weight. It's fucking great. Like, it's not because I don't eat intentionally. It's because when you're busy doing stuff, you don't eat as much. When at home, I'm just sitting around. Remember that conversation I had at the start of this, calling myself a bitch? Well, that's part and parcel of that. And
Yeah.
now I'm gonna try and be on top of my shit. I'm fed up of being average, man.
Okay.
I'm fed up of being acceptant of being average.
Yeah.
average at what?
Just living, Yanko. I'm mad at myself.
You're not
Can you hear it
average,
in my
Chad.
voice?
Why do you consider yourself average?
Because there's so many better things that I could actively choose to do on a daily basis to look after myself. But I don't. I don't make that choice. I make the easy choice of being a blob.
He makes the
Being a
choice of
mess.
ordering wabby jabby curry on fucking
Wabby
Worlds,
jabby.
whatever it's called.
Wagamamas.
Wagamamas.
Yeah, but yesterday I just got home. So today
Yeah,
I've got all the
That
groceries.
was your cheat meal.
Got all the groceries. I've got them ready to go. I whack the chicken in the air fryer, chop up some veg, slop her in the pan,
Hell yeah.
give her a little bit of season of sun, and away you go, mate. So everything you need and more.
Hell yeah.
I wouldn't call myself a master chef. I wouldn't call myself a master of anything.
I
really.
tend to lose weight at events too, because I've gotten much more disciplined over the years of not eating just like the average Snicker bar just laying around the green room. You know, like
They are
always-
tempting.
They don't really put out any like healthy snacks, but when you're just walking through there in like hour 6 of a day, grabbing a Snickers bar every time you leave the green room, that becomes an issue.
Well, we had the music blaring in the green room, and one of the security guards who was across the hall, like from where our green room was, because we had some of the classic metal bangers going on, some System of a Down, you know, like
Sure.
we had some Jimmy Eat World, all the good stuff, and he was getting into it, all the headbanging. We had good vibes. I think Yanko at one point said that there was so much testosterone in the green room at that point. He was right, you know, everyone was
Testosterone
jumping
levels were
around.
through the roof.
Yeah,
It
that
was
must
a
have
good
been when you
time.
were doing playing with the boys. That's
Actually,
when
that wasn't in
testosterone
there.
peaks. Oh my
Because
I don't think that came
Chad
on.
was doing like, you know, Slipknot
Angry
and-
music.
and Blink 182 and Metallica. I don't know.
Yeah, I had some Linkin Park and stuff. It was
Chad,
ones
you
that,
do
know,
throw some aggressive bangers into the mix, into the playlist rotation that I don't think people would expect of you. We had this in the Brazil in the shuttle in Rio for the major, Yanko, where we were cranking some tunes on the way there, and Chad threw in a couple of requests right at the end, and we just looked at each other because one of them was like an actual headbanging aggressive song. Didn't
Yeah, it's
expect it
probably
out of your
some-
camp.
I don't know. I love me some like Bring Me the Horizon and Parkway Drive and stuff like. But I listen to a lot of different music. It's just that type of music for what we're doing gets me going.
Gets you
right,
jazzed
like
up, yeah.
it's frag
Deathmatch
music.
music.
Yeah, and that like it reminds me of the good old days when you could just use anyone's music you want in a frag movie. and we'd all watch them, right? Whereas like I listen to a large variety of music. So it's all. I think we even started the first 50 minutes of this with music, and now we're back at an hour mark. How long do we want to go for here? I don't mind if we keep going. I don't mind if we bail. I don't give a fuck.
I've got another 10 minutes in me because I gotta go. I gotta get ready for an appointment.
There you go. We got 10 minutes.
Shit. What was? Let me see. What was the?
Well, we got to remember we did an hour before this. This is now going on a 2-hour podcast.
I swear I didn't know if we were going like I didn't know if we were doing it from the start or not. But yeah, so we talked all the shit stuff. Well, in the end, it was mostly the final and like the contender teams and all of that stuff that we did. So maybe just focus on the Counter-Strike this last little bit.
Yeah. Well, even as well as that, when we're in person next week, we'll be able to do another one if we're interested for sure. But yeah, we spoke a lot about like G2 and the type of Counter-Strike that we've been played. And I remember I was harping on about how just loved the little details of the way that they're playing Counter-Strike. A lot of the stuff that you don't really catch off screen. We were talking about that little move with like Monacy and Hunter on Hut to bait the shot of Yabi, or just simple stuff like the circle peek from Monacy just to get good information. Just the way that they're approaching the game. But this is probably a longer topic, so maybe we can lose Jason, Janko, and we can just talk about it.
Yeah, if you guys are gonna dive into the actual nitty gritty CS, because
give us, Jason, your thoughts, about like just the kind of grand final, kind of the playoffs a little bit. I feel like that's what was in the second part. So and we were also at the event, so people could hear us talk there as well.
Yeah. Well, it's weird not being at the event. Sometimes I feel like the games don't get consumed with the same kind of scrutiny. I thought the final was really cool. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. I think G2 obviously is just the way like they're some of their rounds on Ancient, where they were like trading so efficiently into bomb sites. Monacy's op has been incredible. I just think G2 is like a really fun team to kind of follow and watch right now with their players. But yeah, I think one conversation we had kind of yesterday about the final two was heroic. Like it was noticeable in the grand final in some instances that they were making like kind of like over peaks and mistakes that we normally didn't see out of them. They seemed to buckle a little bit in this grand final that G2 was really able to capitalize on. But yeah, I don't know. This was a really, really cool event. I know we touched on one other thing with like Liquid at this event and how good of a run that they had, even despite the fact that you never felt like they were going to be able to like kind of make it towards the end. It still feels like they have some, I think consistency of OC is a really important thing that they need to nail down, because he had an upswing this event to some of his previous ones where you could really tell how much this team kind of changes when he's playing well. But yeah, this event was just cool. I think it was a solid way to start the year and kind of get the path to the major really started in terms of starting to build some of the early 2023 things to look out for.
Yeah, I guess that was a lot of the sentiment we were covering off. All right, Jason. Yeah, this is what I want you to do, mate. I want you to stop recording. I want you to upload it for me now, and I want you to go and lactate for me, man. I want you to lactate as hard as you've ever lactated.
I'm gonna do it. I feeling full today.
All right. Well, you could. Thank you, Jason.
GG's, boys. Enjoy.
Goodbye,
Jason.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just keep banging on here, Janko, because I know we did have a lot to say, but I don't even really remember what I said. So let's see where we end up here. But let's start with G2, and then let's do that. Let's work into like where we see the contending teams at, because even some of the conditions have changed overnight. There's even a rumor, and I don't know how legit this rumor is, about like Dupree taking extended break because he's having a kid, right? And then Vitality needing a player for the major lead in, which would be insane when the entire conversation was about them leading into the major.
That's not before the major, no? That's post-major, certainly.
I don't know. I have to go see if I can find this rumor. Is it after the major? I thought it was before the major. Maybe I misread.
I didn't see it. I saw something. I saw like the Nerds Dupree thing on Reddit just before we started doing the podcast. Yeah, they indicate might take an extended paternal leave. Yeah, but it also says it's unknown whether he'll be absent before or after the blast major. Yeah. Well, then I guess you'd hope it'd be after. I feel like they would have accounted for that ahead of time and just started the season without him, and just kind of got him back. But also I don't know if Dupree is back after that leave. if a team like Vitality will just find someone else, and I guess we can kickstart it with Vitality. Why not? If you're already talking about them, it was strange. I don't know if I did a single game of theirs during the tournament, which is strange. But they qualified for spring finals, obviously, and they opened the group good, but then they like completely get crushed by Heroic in the upper bracket game of the group, and then in the quarterfinal they lose to Liquid. Like they give up that historic comeback. It was 13.
They're up 12-0 and then they
12-0
lost
up.
in overtime.
And then they lost in overtime, right? And the one map they did win was Nuke, which Liquid just reintroduced into the play. And of course, another disappointing series for Zyvo, who ended up second highest rated for the tournament or something like that. But I mean, that's what I say about Exile too. Like that means fuck all to me that he was second highest rated. If he's gonna disappear on 2 out of the 3 maps in the playoffs, right? Like fuck that. That's not top 5 players in the world caliber. It's like what matters is those games only, and that's why HLTV gave the MVP to Hunter over JKS, because JKS has better stats over the event, but Hunter was more impactful in the playoffs, right? And it's up to anyone who gives awards to decide how they weigh what, but that's the reason why it happened that way. So I don't know, for Vitality it's just strange. It just doesn't seem that these 5 players, with the coach and everything, that they can win, that they can be a consistent contender and win multiple tournaments. It just seems that something is missing. It's a little bit difficult from the outside to say what, whether that should be a change in leadership and bring some more firepower, what we talked a little bit about briefly yesterday. Maybe, Magisk becomes the in-game leader, and Apex gets benched and they get someone, a better rifler instead of him, something like that.
I remember, the discussion. Well, one of the discussions we were having was like the next kind of steps for the team, right? So I'd imagine, for this roster right now, it is very conceivable that the current roster of the team is contingent on how they perform at the major, that it feels like they're putting all their eggs into that basket, right? So if the team come the major don't hit the mark, which the mark would be winning, but let's say from a team perspective, they come top 4 or they come top 2 and they look really, really strong, right? Maybe they just have a close, unfortunate loss to whoever the best is at the time. But they're showing really good Counter-Strike. Okay, then we could revisit this conversation. But let's say that they don't make the playoffs, or they make the playoffs and they get stomped in the quarterfinal. Well, then that's probably not good enough for where the org wants the team to be going. And then that is what opens the door of the conversation that we're having right now, in the sense of you were mentioning yesterday, Mega's going to in-game leader, and then bringing in the 2 newer names. And those newer names could be anybody, really, right? An organization like Vitality with a lot of money could be able to get any up-and-coming players from whatever teams that they're looking at to bring into the fold. So I think that it's just the timeline for Vitality. It's, let's see what more they can get out of the team in the run into the major. Do they have enough to hit like a hot streak, and play some really good CS? Yes. Do they have enough to be consistent? Well, so far, not really, and communication still seems to be an issue. So how much more time are you willing to give into that point, right? So that's kind of where it's at for Vitality for me. And I guess we're in, and I remember that was the conversation we had yesterday, was about putting these things into perspective of a timeline. So, I think when you move past Vitality and you start looking at other names, Outsiders with Chiron on debut looked pretty good, but there's other areas of their game which they definitely need to work on a lot that doesn't have anything to do with Chiron, like just has to do with their general approach to the game or other players. Fame was one of the names you were talking about.
Yeah, I feel the reason with Outsiders is because they added a new player, they're just introducing him to the system and everything. So it looks a little bit like this wasn't the same Outsiders like from the major in terms of play style, right? Because they probably didn't have enough time for him to get comfortable with that second layer, so to speak. So I think they just like introduced and mostly played their like most basic style, like the most fundamental style that they have, and tried to really nail that down with him. And we didn't see as much variety from them as perhaps we did during the Rio Major. But I think by the time Paris comes around, Outsiders will be fine. They'll be much improved, right? Like the Chiron will be adjusted to the style, and I think they'll see some of the other things they need to work on. I mentioned Fame in a sense of, I think he still played well in this tournament, but something that I noticed while I was like sort of I did this for the NaVi Outsiders game because I knew Inferno was going to be played and picked by NaVi most likely. I like scouted Outsiders to see what were some of the things you could exploit. And one of the things was they start 3B a lot in gun rounds, maybe like, 70% of gun rounds. And when there's two players on A, Fame is always one of the two, and he's the pit player, and he almost never uses his smoke early, right? Like to buy time, to make it more difficult for the T's to, do apps pop or something along those lines. He loves to save it and then put it down and play around it when he gets mollied in pit, or just throw some one way, which is, a good play. But the problem is if that's a massive tendency and your opponents can count on that happening, well then, it's something that can be exploited and used against you. So I think that's for Fane, like that small detail that maybe he needs to, add a little bit of variety on his CT side, or that Outsiders as a team should have a couple of setups similar to what C9 did with Exile and Inter's on A Inferno, right? Like they would switch it up a little bit, even though Exile is mostly in pit, but it would make it so that it's difficult to predict when you play against them what is it exactly that they're going to do. And another thing that Outsiders also, they never did an aggressive app setup. Like never, something in apps. Like you could get apps free against them every single round, which I think it's not good. It's always, I remember.
Shit.
I remember.
Before I forget, you have to make sure you mention the thing about hooxi.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, fucking hell.
Too, yeah, I will. Now everyone's excited for the hooxi thing. But, I remember one time we were playing a game during the pandemic and stuff, and I said on some map, let's say Dust 2 maybe before, even though this example is not true, but just for the sake of explaining it, we never used to rush B, right? Like we never did the rush. We would do something fast sometimes, but never a rush. So I was like, we were winning. I was like, let's just do a B rush, Nico, so we have it like on tape, So if someone who watches our game and for the next opponent, they'll see we do a B rush, and then, he'll tell that to the B players, and they'll have to use maybe some of their utility a bit sooner. So, it's when you don't do something ever, it on some level it makes it easier for your opponent. So something for Outsiders.
Yeah, I think them just doing.
Guts, so.
No, I don't. That's the thing. Like, and that matchup, I probably spoke about it in the later stage as well. I think that the NaVi Outsiders game, from an arena casting perspective, in terms of bringing excitement to an already quite quiet crowd, right? They were very dead during that matchup. It was hard because it was high level Counter-Strike in terms of like the fakes and the double fakes and the late round tactical maneuvers, but you can't really just do color commentary of building in defaults for the better part of a minute every round in an arena, right? It's like a different experience. So it's hard to have that type of hype, which is fine. They play a different style of Counter-Strike. I think I need to come up with new ways to be able to try and do those games justice, or maybe come up with a couple of things, or just leave more dead air, right? That's fine too. Regardless, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the team. But they were just doing a lot of like 1-4s, where Fame was literally just playing in the A site, and there was a couple of rounds where he was even just playing the same position of the little wedge in truck. And they were just playing 4B. And it was because these were rounds where they didn't have a lot of utility to do aggressive maneuvers, or it was just saved guns, but it was still very just one-dimensional and hoping you made the right like gamble stack or the right read on the call of where NaVi were going to finish. And when Outsiders were playing like their better Counter-Strike, they were a lot more unpredictable. I think they had a lot more going for them. So I guess I agree with you. I think it will be back. I think that I like the team. I like the players. I really like Dustin. I like this Chiron kid. He's fucking sharp. He makes some good heads-up decisions. So I think the Outsiders are not far off the pace.
And one last thing, they need to change who plays B lurk on overpass on T side. I don't know why Kickert is that player. He's the least mechanically skilled out of all the riflers, right? Yes, he's a veteran and his decision making is good there, but a lot of times that's just a straight up like fight that you need to take at some point, and you have Flit, who I think would be better at that, or maybe Fame, or at this point even Chiron, right? Like put someone with a little bit more firepower there and just send Kicker to like connector or something, like I feel that could also give them a small boost on the T side. But yeah, I think regardless of, I think it was very apparent from the two quarterfinals that whoever wins in the semifinal, I think it was clear that G2 and Heroic are on another level. And I think we saw that in the semifinal games themselves, like it wasn't really in question who's going to be in the final.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we have like the clear number 1 and number 2 in the world right now. And then in terms of everybody else working, and we already touched on NaVi a little bit. I think their progression time is going to take a while. They might even need to go back and just explore some of the ways that they're approaching a few of these maps here and see if they can come up with a couple of new ideas. I think FaZe aren't far off the pace either, but an idea of how are they going to shake up the mood. That was a key one. I like what you said with Olaf there. But Liquid's an interesting one, right? Jason before was touching on the OC conversation, but he felt like he had a couple of games where he was starting to get activated, right? Like where, because this is another thing. He's happily said, oh yeah, tier 1 was harder than I thought. And now you got Chiron saying it's easier than people think. But like NAF still plays well. I think OC, look, could they just grab like some crazy AWPer now and probably plug him in? Yeah, but does this kid have...
Who's to say that OC isn't a crazy AWPer just if you give him a chance, sort of?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like maybe he is being a little bit too restricted in the team. Like there's other people taking space. Or maybe that's not even how the game is set up. It's not like, he's being forced to, with their system, to not do things. Maybe it's just a little bit too pressure, like he doesn't want to mess up, right? Like he doesn't want to be the reason why they lose a round or something like that. But I feel like when he did play a little bit more loose, that he was finding some of those multi-kill rounds on the op, some of the highlights, some of the more impactful rounds, right? So if I would Liquid, I would try to, support him a little bit more and tell him, hey, try this more often. Just don't worry about it. Like even if we lose, because I think it's something that they need in order to win some of these tournaments. Like they've been in a couple of finals, couple of semifinals, but no trophies yet for them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like their consistency to go deep in events is actually pretty good. But one of the things that I think we were talking about and we addressed was you need more from a Elige and Yakinda, right? Like one map, maybe it's a Yakinda map. The next map, it's an Elige map. But you know what NAF is. He's going to be consistent. He's going to be that pillar for the team. I think he was the best statistically for them, right? And he tends to deliver in that role. But you need a bit more out of your Kinder and your Elige. And then if OC is able to get that room you're talking about, okay, like the pieces are here. This team can be good. Like I think they're in the conversation. How can they not be, right? With where their placings. We know who the top dogs are, but this is where the teams, I don't think like Liquid are on the fall off. They're on the steady come up. Right? FaZe are right there. They just need to like grab the ledge. I think Outsiders maybe a little bit below that.
FaZe are hanging off the ledge. Chad.
Okay.
And
Yeah, you're right.
Is coming in and giving his hand to pull them up. That's what's happening. And for Liquid, it's like, they're the engine. It's like something's like a little bit. It's not as that it's a new engine, but something's like just a little bit off. Like some screw is loose, basically. And they don't have the correct wrench at the time. They're missing a tool. That's an analogy for their map pool. I feel like we heard it from Elige as well. It needs work. It's too shallow at the moment, right? Like their vertigo is not great, and nuke. I think they don't want to have a 7-map pool. It feels like they want to swap vertigo for nuke most likely, or maybe just play 2 maps well enough where if a team who permabans one of the 2 lets it go against them, they're confident enough to pick it and punish, right? But against any teams who are actually good on nuke, they're never going to play nuke against G2, against FaZe. They couldn't even play it against Vitality, right? Like, so I'm not sure what their avenue is going to be for this. Like, their Overpass is good. Their Mirage is good. I don't know why the Inferno isn't a little bit better. Like
that's some really hard CT sides, didn't they?
Yeah, they've worked a lot. They played the most Anubis, it seems, out there, and they have a pretty good understanding of the map and the angles and all of that stuff. But I think, relative to other teams, that's going to become a smaller and smaller gap as other teams play the map more and practice it more, and individuals play it more. So for Liquid, that's the biggest thing. It's like the map pool. And I mean, also Nitro being your highest rated player in the semifinal is, you're not gonna win any big games with that happening. So
no, it'd be nice for that to happen if everyone performed and they won, right? That'd be good, right? But that's not the expectation of Nitro, and that's not the way that they're going to consistently be like a top team, right? So what about the next like bucket of teams, right? Because we spoke about Vitality, touched on NaVi, Outsiders, FaZe, Liquid, Heroic, and G2, sure. But then you've got like it's getting a bit
Heroic
weird.
leaving for the end. That's the cherry.
What about this next bunch, right? Like any of these names here stick out to you that are going in the wrong direction. OG, Fnatic, Complexity, Mouse, Spirit, Cloud9, and let's stop it there because after that, we're getting into fucking murky water after that.
I mean, Mouse losing to Complexity, that's pretty disappointing. Yes, Complexity played better, but Mouse also didn't play since Rio, so, you know, they had a lot of time to add things and get better. And, of course, the opposite side of that coin is it was their first, you know, tournament of this year. So whether there was some ring rust, I think Pro League is going to tell us more. But yeah, I don't know. OG is just a team that until they do something, you know, a little bit more on a more consistent basis, they're always going to be this team that you look at. And yes, I can see them beating some teams. I also don't see them beating Heroic or G2 ever. You know, I mean, not ever, but with this level of play and, you know, what they're doing right now. Fnatic, a little bit underwhelming for me, like another team that's fallen to Complexity. And I like the way they played before, but it seems like they played worse individually. I know Fasher said that he was playing way worse, and he feels like, you know, if he just had a little bit of a better game on some maps, they wouldn't have lost those series. I don't even want to talk about Cloud9. I mean, man, Elige comes on the pre-show with us for the final, and he's still talking about like Cloud9, how he loves watching them play, and you know he thought they could make a run at this tournament and everything, and it's like, how, why? Like it's probably because when he's playing them or whatever, that, you know, he has that imprinted in his mind and like something really cool that he saw from them, or some player had a really good game, but they've fallen apart so many times in important games that, like, why would I ever had faith in this team? What did they do except being good online and winning Dallas, you know, right after a week after the major was over, when everyone was hungover from the major and they couldn't even make it into the playoffs because they lost to fucking Imperial.
Yeah. So it's so hard though, man. I think it's because like you have Shiro and you have Axel, and they're recognized as two of the absolute best players right now. Like that, yeah.
Axel needs to start playing. I don't know. He needs to do what Shiro has done. More initiative. Like fucking just, you know, start taking the game into your own hands with Shiro and like asking for plays and calling for plays for yourself, because obviously, you know, shit ain't working. If you're gonna lose to fucking IHC, you know, a player of Exile and Shiro's caliber shouldn't be losing games to IHC. Same way that, you know, Nico and Hunter and this team shouldn't have lost to One Win. Was it One Win who they lost to? And like Gamer Legion. Like that's fucking embarrassing, you know? But we know why that happened, because they choked. They felt the pressure, and that wasn't, you know, they weren't playing their own game, as people like to say all the time. They were just playing fucking like bitches. So you need to avoid that from happening. Whether that's the case for Cloud9, I'm not as sure. Like, it's hard to tell with their style a little bit, because it's always the same. Like, when they lose to IRC, it's the same as they were beating FaZe. So, you know. But, yeah, if anything, as we talked about, you know, I think Groove needs to be... He feels a little bit too detached, like it's too boss-employee sort of a relationship, right? And this is only from the outside. I'm not sure if it's like that, but, you know, get a little bit more involved while the games are going on and with the players. Like, it just, that team doesn't feel right, you know, when they play. I don't know. And I'm so tired of talking about them. Fuck them.
Fuck them. Hit him with the hooxi.
All right, so... Grand finals over. We're back at the hotel. I run into, you know, hooxi's there, and I walk up to him to say congrats, you know, great job calling as well, like really good T sides, you know, just a great job all around. And he's like, thank you. Where's Kassad? Is Kassad here? And he asks, I'm like, no, he left earlier. You know, he wasn't doing the playoffs. He's like, okay, I wanted to talk to him, you know, like I shouted his name when we won. I'm like, what? Yeah, when we won, I shouted, Kassad, are you watching? I'm like, wait, for real? And he's like, yeah. So I asked him if I could say it on the podcast. And he's like, yeah, sure. But that's just, you know, such a baller thing from hooxi. He's been taking receipts, Chad, of everyone who
He's like an elephant, mate. He's not forgetting.
Yeah. But Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No. I was gonna say like that. I just think it probably from Kassad gave hooxi some more motivation to be like fuck these people, man. Like definitely something for them to use as fuel to the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I said this to Kassad in his face on the broadcast when we were at Pro League. I was like, what's all the rush with this like hooxi fucking
Lynching, yeah.
lynching? Yeah, it's like, yes, he's having some shit stats in some of these games, but they qualified for fall finals from those groups, and then they showed up to Pro League, and they're winning. And this one game, I remember Vertigo. I don't know against who it was. He had a 3 or 4K in the overtime on T side, like so. He even had that, and I'm like, why are people so quick to judge? You have to understand, like, you're coming into one of the most talked about orgs, G2, you're playing with Nico and all this stuff. Like, you're expected to lead this team to the number 1 spot in the world. Like, that's the expectation. Everything else is not good enough. Like, that's a tremendous amount of pressure to have to deal with. And on top of that, like, also play your own game, like, as an individual, right? And get the kills. So I was always like, just give them a little bit more time and let's see. And then Kassad is like, no, this is a fucking one of the worst roster decisions ever. They're never gonna win a fucking tournament, like maybe only like a Mickey Mouse tournament or something like that, right? Like they're never gonna win Katowice or Cologne or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like why not, right? Like with the other 4 guys, he doesn't even have to do all that much. And that was actually his interview, and that's how the meme started.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff. But man, good for him. Also, I mean, having to deal with the personal loss during the World Finals and like sticking through it and lifting that trophy, and that was only 2 months ago. That's not like 6. That stuff's still fresh, I'm sure. So to be able to persevere through all of that and prove that the winning tournament wasn't a fluke. I mean, they made fucking history, dude. They're the second behind NIP in consecutive map wins on LAN. Like that's as well as saying they're number 1, because NIP's record is never going to be broken. Like no one ever is going to win 87 maps on LAN in a row when it comes to tier 1 Counter-Strike. And they did it at World Finals, very tough playing field. Katowice, tough playing field, and groups like, they beat big NaVi 2 times. Sure, NaVi is struggling, but they beat them 3 times 2-0 on the same maps. It's like, especially on the same maps, it's difficult to beat the same team a lot of times. So they're doing like great. JKS as well. I leave this one to you. He was doubted too.
Yeah, but like, look, this one I don't know. Like, I wish I gave more of a fuck about it. I think it's a situation where a lot of stuff isn't considered, which is fine. And I know not everybody gets to talk to Justin as much as I do to understand the scenarios that are going on and everything here. I'm just glad that he gets to show he's a good player, right? Like that's what I'm the most happy about, that he gets to show that he's a good player.
Well, he's not a good player. He's a fucking insane player. Like, in a sense of some of his game sense and how intelligently he plays, right? Like he's the perfect dude for that sort of a team, the perfect, like, in that role to supplement Nico, Hunter, and Monesi.
Yeah. I don't want to big him up too much because people will just say I'd be biased, Janko. So like
I'll big him up, dude, because it's also, I asked him this on the desk during the MVP or something. I was like, like, people were doubting you and you had a rough period after the Renegade, complexity and stuff, and now you're back, like, winning trophies and you're in the best team in the world. Like, how close were you to quitting, or whatever, did you ever? And he did say it was tough to come back, and like that it wasn't an easy decision. Of course, you're doubting yourself, like you're missing some of the results or individual showings, and of course he's unhappy with it as well. So, I think he took a lot of, and also I think it was very classy of him to thank FaZe during that MVP interview for giving him a chance during last year's Katowice, and saying that if it weren't for that and his showing there, G2 never probably thinks about him. He doesn't get picked up, and now, he's not where he is right now.
Yeah, and there's another part to this that I don't think is considered. So when JKS was in my team, or then when I left, when I retired because I was fucking shit. And Renegades like changed ownership, and then 100 Thieves, and when they were, they were a good team for a while there, right? They made it to the semifinals of a major. They made it to the grand finals of an IEM. So they weren't just like knockovers. Justin was the star player of that team. He was the hard carry, but really that's the only type of team environment, and which will obviously have changed over those years. But he was one of the people who was there since the very early days, right? So he's kind of grown through the evolution of that team. Then complexity was something new for him, something that he hadn't been a part of before, an international team in that same way. And that was a different and challenging time because I think they let the patients run the asylum over there, right? I think that maybe there was a little bit too much control of the players as opposed to like the staff keeping everybody in check, and they definitely didn't nurture the same type of environment as what he was used to from the Renegades / 100 Thieves days. And then he went to a team that was in really good spirits, right? That's what FaZe were. They're in really good spirits. Rops had just joined the team. Sure, they had the whole COVID stuff, but he was there and they were enjoying Counter-Strike, right? If you're going to stay up until 3 or 4 a.m. every night playing fucking retake servers with the same people, a big component of being able to do that is enjoying yourself. So not only did he get that opportunity was made very comforting for him. And I think from there he saw, hey, it doesn't all have to be miserable in these teams. It doesn't all just have to feel like fucking work. Like it can feel like fun. And this team, G2 now, you can see they're all on the same page. They all understand that they can talk to each other in a certain way to achieve that goal. And you're seeing that with the way that they're approaching Counter-Strike. The fact that they can win an event and Nico or Modesty isn't carrying is testament to how good the team can be, because that's the blueprint now. You need 4 fraggers. You can't have 1. You can't have 2. You can maybe get away with 3, but really you need 4 players who can really contribute and an in-game leader who then in certain rounds can make really good calls and have key impact. 1 or 2 entry kills on key rounds from an in-game leader is huge. It can shape an entire match.
Which is also a little bit ridiculous that, now you require 4 players. But I want to touch on Nico too, because he's also changed a little bit. I think you can see he's matured. I think even during the final, when they played that video of him losing, like that, the finals, you could see even last year, the facial expressions, the hands on your face, like all of that stuff. And there were frustrating moments for him in this final too, but you could tell it's like less, and he's actively like aware of it and, trying to not let it show as much. And also I think trying not to let it affect him as much. And I know that he's taken a little bit more of a leadership role, right? Like in a sense of not only on the server, but also outside of it, and right, working on that team atmosphere and all of that stuff. So I think that also has helped him. And I think Nico, didn't have a great final. He had an okay final. For his standards, you probably would have liked him a little bit more, but I don't think anyone cares, especially him, because they won the final.
Yeah, right.
And he had probably his worst ever CT side Inferno in this tournament against Heroic. He was 2-9, 0.34 rating, 45 ADR, and on T side he was 14-11 with a 142 rating and 100 ADR almost. So it was a stark contrast. And I think in the next final that G2 plays, Nico's going to fucking be insane, because that shit's gone now. Like the pressure is, I think that's past, especially in Katowice, because he lost 3 fucking times there in the final, 2 very, very close ones. So yeah, I think now and that he saw that his team can win without him carrying or even having he'd probably say he played poorly. I don't think that would be true. I think he played okay. That's going to make him even more relaxed next time they're there. And I think that's when you'll see, Nico have one of those performances that we're maybe used to seeing and are more be connected to him a little bit more.
Yeah, well, but I think for him, like, it must feel good that he didn't have to put the team on the backpack type thing, right? That everybody and they that's a key. They're playing. Oh, maybe that's not a key. Maps 1 and 2, I think that they beat Heroic with firepower. I think also a bit of luck on Mirage, to be completely honest, especially on that CT side. They were very lucky to win a couple of rounds that they had won. They could have quite easily gone the other way. So them losing Inferno, I think, is good to show that they do and have built some mental resilience here. That they were able to bounce back from the streak being over of 22 in a row, and you hadn't lost a map at the event so far. So I think all of those things are positives for them going forward, and their target is on the back for them now for the start of the year. So like they're definitely the team to beat. And then in that conversation is Heroic, who I think Heroic, you know, they didn't necessarily stick the landing. They didn't look as tidy in the final as what they can do, right? I don't think that was like the best Heroic that you can have. And I don't think that was the best G2 that you can have, right? I think we both agree there were some nerves, especially on map number 1.
Oh, yeah,
that were quite visible for both teams. I think Heroic as well, like Stown, like this is the thing with Heroic. It does become a weird conversation because you talk about Heroic and you say, oh yeah, you know, they're just 5 really good players. But really the one that we expect the most from, I would imagine, is Stown, right? Because he's shown the most like star player potential. I think for his standards, he was quiet. And when you have Yabi having like what felt like his best tournament fucking ever, alongside a Cadian who you highlighted on the desk and definitely evident throughout the game, was having to do a lot to crack open rounds. He was having to take a lot of initiatives when his teammates maybe weren't as proactive in that regard. You know, that it can get difficult out there, and that's what I mean when I say I don't think it was the best Heroic. It wasn't the Heroic that I know that we can see play even better than that, which is great because having these two teams having a rivalry, I think, would be really fun.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, Stown on Ancient 620, 0.48 rating, you know, that's just not something that can really happen against a team like G2. And I think that's the problem for Heroic. It's like everyone except Cadian and Yabi at this point. And I would have put Stown in there. I was surprised that he underperformed, right? Usually he is good in those big games, in stage games. It doesn't feel like that's where he disappears. It was mostly like where I don't recall much from Shush, specifically Tessis either, except for Inferno, that CT side.
He came alive CT side Inferno.
Yeah,
He was doing
boss. Work. But I think that's the problem. You could see some of those rounds on Nuke, nerves, but you know the Hunter Ace clutch. Like these are rounds at this point in the game where if you don't lose them, and they're tougher to lose, it felt like, than to win, you probably win the game. Like you break their money, and it's much easier to call. It's much easier to play against weak buys, and when your opponents are on the back foot, right? And it seemed like it all slipped through their hands a couple of times in different games, and it felt like the rounds were at a stage where, you know, you need someone to make a play for you, right, and win you the round in a 3v4, even in a 3v3 pros plan, but you're a little bit in a bad position, or, you know, people are low HP, whatever it is. For example, that was Hunter for G2 throughout these playoffs. JKS probably on occasion as well. Sometimes Monacy, right? Like every time you feel like, oh, G2, like they can't get anything going. You know, the other team has the momentum. There comes Hunter with a Tech 9 fucking clutch, with a ace clutch, with a double entry kill, or closing out the round on the lurk, on Mirage as well, if you remember, you know, coming from B-Abs and coming into
yeah.
You know, like that's what we didn't see from Heroic. And sure, Heroic is a little bit more team play based than individual plays based like G2, but still, you know, at some point the players need to step up and deliver, and I think that was the difference maker in the final. G2's players stepped up when necessary and enough to beat Heroic on this instance. And you know, we've seen in Rio completely Heroic falling flat. Then Copenhagen, obviously fall finals, they win, they beat FaZe, but that's like also on home turf in Copenhagen. You know that there's that extra bit of motivation, right, to do it in front of your friends, family, on home turf, right? So if they go to another final soon, like whether it's Pro League or the Major, and then again they lose in a similar fashion where some individuals disappear, and you can tell that again it's just Cadian trying to have impact and going for these sort of plays, I think they're going to have to be making another change, you know?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just think there's a growing in point now to being like a proper contender, right? Like before, they were good. And when I say before, I mean before their major grand final against outsiders. Like they were good, and we obviously know during the online era the type of team we would get. And then there was a discussion of would they be able to bring this like very high tempo game style to LAN, where we know that those decisions matter even more in the moment, and the pressure is higher, which makes those decisions harder to make. And then they started to show that they're able to do that. And now, winning grand finals and being in grand finals, if this becomes a permanent fixture, well, this is a learning curve as well of how these players are going to need to try and make the impact in these bigger matches and what is expected of them. Because I know that we're talking about them being a good team, but we're here being critical of them in the final, and like that would be one of the only points in the tournament that you could be hugely critical of their run, right? Because it was good until they get up against these boys. They get a 2-0 against NaVi. That's traditionally their boogeyman. They always struggle. That one had to feel really good. They fucking smashed Vitality into the dirt. Took out OG pretty easily. The only team that they lost a map to in the event otherwise was fucking Complexity. So. I think the thing is just we know there's more for them to give. So and that's a positive sign for me. I don't think they're in the territory of like having to worry about changing players or anything soon. I think they're in the territory of, okay, boys, we're here now. Let's get that last bit of gas out of us to see how far we can really take this thing. Because I think I've mentioned it yesterday, but it would be about like another Danish team that we all know and love that had plenty of opportunities in finals or semifinals, right? And they were unable to seal the deal. Or maybe Heroic are going through that little transformation of the butterfly now. So only time will tell. Captain Hindsight. We're going to have to wait and see for everything to unfold. But yeah. How you feeling, Janko?
I'm feeling good. Oh,
yeah?
You mean like about the podcast?
Just in general. In general, everything.
I'm feeling good. Things are looking up, finding some consistency in different things in life. So that feels good.
Yeah, I think we're in a good place. And I think now that I've come here and we've done this again and we're going to smash it out today, it's people get even more to listen to.
Yeah.
They get a contrast on the episode. It's been good.
Yeah, and excited about Malta, that we're all going to be there and have a little bit more say in the broadcast and the flow and the round of show and all of that stuff. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Show the people what we can do.
All right. You want to pack her up?
Yeah, I feel like I had a question for both you and Jason about something, but I forgot. So hopefully, comes
you
back
remember
for
the next time.
For the next episode. Yeah.
All right. Well, it'll be in like a week.
Yeah, and Chad, just before we finish, I'd like to once again publicly apologize for the mishap yesterday and fucking up the recording, and it won't happen again. I'm sorry.
I accept your apology, but it's the listeners who truly will be the ones to decide your fate, Janko.
All still mates.
All right. Peace.